Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the European Technology Network. The date is Thursday, 23rd of October. The time is 11:07, and we are back. We are back in the studio. We are back. It's the show that you watch at work. It's the show that everyone knows and loves. Luke, do you maybe want to talk a little bit about the people we have on today?
Yeah, I can do that. So we have a stacked guest list as usual. I actually just sent out the order of play.
Nice.
Very European. We're going to call it the order of play. I quite like that. It's quite fun. That wasn't ChatGPT. That was actually me that came up with that. We've got at 11:30 a.m. We've got David Gelberg. He's the founding ML engineer at Warestack,
AKA the fastest exited European founder.
Yeah, he ran the 20-hour got acquired in 20 hours, built it at the Project Lovable hackathon back, 3 months ago. So will be cool to talk to him. He's building some cool stuff with Unicorn Mafia as well, so doing lots for the EU ecosystem, and is based in London and is a massive advocate for London as well, so it's going to be good. Amal Jolly, co-founder of Saturn, a new financial advice startup. They've just raised, was it a 10 million pre-seed?
I think so. No.
We should probably
15 million. Sorry.
15 million. Boom. So good to chat to him about the round. Patrick Ryan, our good old friend Paddy, co-founder of Odin, joinodin.com, very cool platform, an SPV platform based here in
AKA
London.
Paddy the Baddie.
Paddy the Baddie, big dog.
Known in the space.
We're going to chat to him all European tech and VC life. Next one is Jack Wang, partner and managing director at Project A, massive defense guy. We're going to be talking to him about what's going on in defense and what's happening around the EU ecosystem and the US investors coming into the defense sector and all of that kind of stuff. It's going to be a good one. And Dan Gray at Credit Stick, probably one of the most unfollowed unfollowed people who is also one of the smartest. I don't know why that guy doesn't have hundreds of thousands of followers. The takes that he has on VC and the ecosystem, he is based, I believe, in Ireland, is the head of insights at Equidam, so it's going to be really good to chat to him. We're going to chat to him about some stories that he's put out and specifically VC stuff.
Fun fact about Dan Gray, him and I we connected on LinkedIn last night, and he messaged me. Thank you. He messaged me saying he went to my school.
Oh, no way!
Went to the same school, me and Dan.
No way.
Yeah, so he asked. I asked who was the headmaster when you were there.
Yeah.
The headmaster at our school, and he said it. I asked if it was Mr. Gartside, who was my one. It wasn't. It was actually a fella called Roy Coleman. And I was like, who's Roy Coleman? But I know his name because the hall that we used to go in every morning was called the Coleman Hall. So it was named after him. Yeah, so there was a cool moment there.
No way.
Yeah,
well, we can chat to Dan about that. It's going to be interesting. On to the news. I want to touch on Porsche, our friends over in Germany. Recently, I think it was October 17th. We probably should have covered it on the last show, but they obviously had their new CEO, Michael Lieters, take over from Oliver Bloom. He'd been under pressure to give up his dual role as head of German sports car maker and the parent of VW Volkswagen. I think it's interesting because obviously Porsche, they IPO'd in 2022, and their share price has gone down from 120 euros down to 40 euros. And it's kind of, people are basically saying that they put too much time and effort into EVs. And basically Michael Lieters' whole thing about coming in on January the 1st in 26 is to completely move away from EV. I don't know actually completely, I think it's kind of hybrid, but really focus on petrol engines, basically what they do best. I mean the sound and the energy around Porsche and that kind of vibe, that's what we love. So just a shout out to Porsche, if you want to give us some stuff, that would be cool. And an article actually came out today, I believe, 6 hours ago. Porsche's new boss was a skeptic of battery motors for luxury vehicles long before he was picked to lead the revival of the petrol engine at the German sports car group. He said the technology isn't ready. Michael Leiters told the Financial Times late last year, while still in his old job as CEO of British supercar manufacturer McLaren. Electric vehicles lack the emotional thrill of noisy engines and were quicker to lose their value, he said.
That's a cool quote, isn't it?
That is a cool
He's
quote.
basically saying those things aren't cool,
Basically saying,
which is fair.
Yeah.
I guess, you know.
I mean, would you rather own a petrol Porsche or an EV Porsche?
Look, as a stockholder in Tesla, I'm all for seeing
No, come on.
that shareholder value increase.
Really? So you don't believe Michael Leiters is going to skyrocket that share price of Porsche from that 40 euros over 120? I think,
maybe he
I
will.
think that's what they IPO'd at.
Maybe he
120.
will. Look, if you approach me with a nice classic car, I'd probably take that off your hands
Yeah,
instead of a new EV. But again, shareholder in Tesla, they had a great earnings report. I was watching it live last night actually on X.
Nice.
Although the stock took a bit of a dive because although it was blockbuster revenues,
Maybe because of this
Profits
shift in Porsche's interest.
yeah, could have been that. Who knows? Who are we to comment on the whims of the market?
Exactly.
With that said, we didn't do our new stash heist recap of what's been happening.
we can do that.
past few days.
Let's do it now.
So Luke and I have been on a bit of a tour, bit of a run around across London. So we've been doing a few trade deals. You might have seen some sort of sporadically, serendipitously, and then also some pretty big moves. So why don't we just start? I should have sipped my coffee first, actually.
We have to wait for you to have your coffee.
So good.
So good.
Why don't we start with this friend of the stream, James Wise.
Yeah,
Kind enough to
Big up,
exchange
James.
as one of his books. He also signed it, which is very kind of him. It says, "To the ETN boys, keep flying the flag for European startups. Your biggest fan, James Wise."
Boys was spelt quite funky though as well.
Oh, I didn't see that.
B-O-I-S.
B-O-I. Oh, James.
Yeah. A bit,
Aura farmer.
a bit crazy, a bit out there,
Cheeky
you know.
little aura farm. What about that for James?
Yeah, I kind of want to. Yeah.
Let's spread it out a bit so it's like.
That is like. I know.
That's
Yeah,
to be
I was
honest.
gonna say that.
We should, that's. Oh, on top of that's quite funny actually. On top of the Atomico book.
Peak.
Sorry, Tom. Okay.
Sorry, Atomico.
It's fine. They'll give us the 2025.
Yeah,
We'll
need
put it on
2025
top of there.
So yeah, we went over to meet with India. There were some fun things in the works with Boulderton and the ETN crew. India Phillips is she leads comms over at Boulderton. She's been amazing help for me personally during my time at Convergence, and amazing help for ETN in terms of connecting us with relevant people and opening us up into the comms and platform world of VC. So shout out to India. Additionally, we also have. Now this is a bit of a fun one. Stripe. We have two tote bags. We actually haven't opened these yet.
we got striped yesterday.
Striped. Went to Stripes offices.
Oh no way! They're like proper. They're like zip and everything.
Oh, they're actually like good
Actual bags.
Oh wow, that's
not a tote
It said
bag.
tote bags, and I was like,
That's
oh,
not a tote
okay,
bag.
right. Oh, it's a zip.
That's a
Yeah. Look at
wicked
that.
bag. Good on them.
Cool. Look at that.
Love that from them.
That's awesome. Could maybe put it here with the Veed ones.
Just give me a sec.
And they fold up really well. Here you go.
I want to try.
You're not going to hang it on that piece of paper, are you? Physics wouldn't allow that.
There you go. We'll do that.
Okay,
So you
nice.
can
Yeah,
see
yeah.
Stripe.
See the Stripe logo.
See
Nice,
Stripe.
yeah, good stuff. That is not all.
Am I gonna get up
I
again?
think you sat down a bit too quick.
Yeah.
If you can just hold this up for the camera as well. Lovely Stripe T-shirt,
Good on Stripe.
which was great. And then my favourite of all, 3 really good quality books from the Stripe press books. So we've been given. This is well, I was actually given this one by Jack Needham recently. Shout out to Jack, friend of the stream, and also Chief of Chiefs over here at ETN. He's also Chief Correspondent.
Chief Butler. Oh no, not Chief Butler.
No, he's not Chief Butler. Alex McDonald is Chief
Sorry.
Butler. Bubbles and the End of Stagnation by Brian and Tobias Huber. Really great book. Currently reading it thanks to Jack, but we can put this. Dare I?
Explain what it's about. So read it. So
It's essentially
listeners
just
can know.
like talking about how progression at the moment is we are kind of minimally increasing the efficiency of current technological advancements. We aren't creating like whole new frontier pushing things. And there's an amazing part in this book as well that we were talking at dinner the other day with Tom, Khan and Lewis about how like pre-industrial revolution in the UK, if you go onto like the Google like word searches, you can spot the amount of times that and this was something told to me by Jack as a reason to read this book, by the way. So
How the
shout out
hell
to
did Jack know that?
Because he read the book.
Oh, does it say it in the book?
Yeah, it's part of the book. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
And you can see essentially that like prior to the Industrial Revolution, that the amount of times like hope and belief and like future and like corresponding words with like a more optimistic future, basically, like a future of like technological advancement. A few years prior to the Industrial Revolution, the amount of times that those words were mentioned in books was just like 50, 100x or something. Like the spike was insane. So like there's an argument there in a way where like you can, this whole like manifestation thing, but like there's an argument that they're saying here where purely by like speaking these things into existence can kind of like rifle feathers in a good way and like catalyze some energy to try and do, push something forward, whatever it is. And then, you have, correlation and causation, obviously, but we had the Industrial Revolution shortly following after that.
Awesome.
So,
well, I guess, look, that's
really cool book.
that's a little bit of our job, right? Is bringing this optimism to the European startup ecosystem, getting the people that are building, investing onto the show to talk optimism about EU, what they're building, and essentially we're doing what the Industrial Revolution did, but for EU, the EU ecosystem.
You think?
Big take.
That's
Take of the day.
yeah, fair play. I mean, I hope we do.
Hope we do too.
And then also Elad Gil, High Growth Handbook, scaling startups from 10 to 10,000 people. Haven't read it. Sure, it's great. And then you liked that one. Didn't
These
you?
are all sold out as well. Like this is hard to get.
Sorry, these ones
The
actually
Stripe
aren't.
Pro,
These
the
ones
Stripe
aren't.
Press ones.
These ones aren't.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, but Poor Charlie's Almanac, a classic book. One that I have actually not yet read, but I definitely should.
Should we put?
And that's why we've
Get
got
it
it,
there,
right?
maybe.
So yeah.
There we go. Look at that.
Poor Charlie's just up there chilling with the ETN hats. I'm sure he'd be proud.
So thank you to Stripe, thank you to Boulderton, incredibly kind. What an honour it is to have these things up there on our lovely shelf. It's getting quite stacked out actually.
It is. We'll have to do a bit of rearranging because I think we could figure some stuff out here.
Yeah.
We need another one of these.
Yeah, I mean it was.
Well,
taken from
easier.
like.
But we need like
Simplesia
a.
founders'
Well,
private staff.
actually, we spoke to Bella at Tech Europe, and obviously he's doing this hackathon at Veed, and we did drop in
We
the
have
fact
Veed
that
merch.
they could do
A jersey.
like a
Oh.
Veed Tech Europe jersey,
Yeah.
which we could put on the street. That would be quite cool,
That would be cool.
and put it there, and like you can have. They can have fights and stuff.
Are you spending other people's budget again?
Yeah, maybe. But look, if you can do that, that'd be awesome.
If you can do that and then send us one of that, you can just buy us a jersey, basically.
Basically, buy us a jersey. We'll do
We
that.
would love that. We'd absolutely love that. In other news, this one is more of a funny one, but I think it's probably worth just mentioning. So obviously we were chatting about how the Louvre was robbed in broad daylight the other day. Crown jewels of France found in a gutter on the street. Really unfortunate, high-vis style, such a classic, the high-vis. Still haven't managed to crack the security defense tech that can actually fight high-vis jackets, it seems. So the high-vis jackets are just ultra powerful. But the detective that has been enlisted to solve the case, I guess, in true French style, it's almost like an episode of Pink Panther, I wish I could get this image up and show everyone what I'm looking at, but for those who may have seen it, may
Who
not have
posted
seen
it? What app posted
It's
it?
at MS Mel Chan, so Miss Mel Chan, but MS Mel Chen, sorry.
Cool.
And she says, actual shot, brackets, not AI, of a French detective working the case of the French crown jewels that were stolen from the Louvre in a brazen daylight robbery. Somehow he looks like he's smoking, even without a cigarette in his hand. But surely everything you know about life is screaming at you, this case is officially screwed. To solve it, we need an unshaven, overweight, washed-out detective who's in the middle of a divorce, a functioning alcoholic who the rest of the department hates. Never going to crack it with a detective who wears an actual fedora, unironically. Now, to be honest, I actually think that's the wrong take.
I disagree with you. But
I
go on.
think he's going to crack it, this young lad. I think the
How old is
fedora-wearing
he?
young lad. I don't know how old he is, but he looks incredibly young.
He looks young but dresses like a 90-year-old.
But it's
Dresses
fresh.
like he's from the
outfit's-
1930s.
Yeah. It looks like he's dressing in a different era, but it's very like if you ask, you know.
If you asked a 12-year-old to draw a
I was
detective,
just about to say
French
that. I'm not sure if it
detective.
worked, but it does work. Yeah.
okay,
that
so
is
look,
what they
how,
draw.
look, this is actually quite interesting because how likely is that actually AI slop, or is that genuinely like a genuine is it a genuine picture?
I don't think it's slop, honestly. I'm pretty sure it's a genuine picture.
Wow.
It's been doing the rounds. Maybe it is slop, actually. I didn't triple check. But like, usually I think I have a good enough eye for the slop.
Well,
kinda
yeah, but
tell.
look, it's getting better, right?
It is getting better. It is getting better. I had someone send me a video the other day, like, oh, look at this, you know, it's like, it was like a medical thing about, you know, make sure you get enough sleep or something, and like cortisol can increase and you can become more stressed and you can't sleep.
Mm.
And like, I just said, I was like, this is an AI video, by the way. I'm like, you know that, right? Like, you know, you've sent me like an AI video, and they had no idea.
No way.
Yeah, which was like actually kind of dangerous, I thought.
Well, I mean, look, we spoke to Victor at Synthesia the other day, actually our first show, and it was interesting because what he was saying about AI video and generation, and you know, he's at the frontier of these models, right? And he has spoken about on the show to us the kind of measures that are going on to make sure that, like, you know, consumers are safe, right? Because obviously, like, you know, you can have a world where you can watch a crazy or not crazy video and actually don't know if it's AI or not, and you know, whether there's I don't know how they would mitigate it, a watermark or something.
Well, Sora 2 have the watermark.
Obviously, yeah, they have a watermark, and is that like the only way to solve this? It's interesting. Maybe we'll have to get Victor or even Stefan on, because we haven't had Stefan on, to kind of deep dive more about the like consumer. Think about the consumer, right? Because that's like the main qualm for a lot of you know, boomers out there, that it's there's just going to be AI slop everywhere, and you're not going to know what's real and what's not. Or someone who's not in tech, like, you know, they don't have to be a boomer. Like, you know, some of my friends who aren't in tech might just be like, you know, that's their argument. What's real, what's not.
Yeah.
But the people at the frontier seem to be pretty switched on to make sure that, like it's.
Well, there's many people crying out right now saying like the internet, that is essentially like a death sentence for the internet.
Yes.
Basically.
Wait, what?
The AI slop is like a death sentence for the internet, right? It's killing the channels in a way where like,
But Victor then also said that, like, you know, the AI slop stuff, like, it will run out of style. Like it will become more about the content, not the process of making the content. Does that make sense?
Yeah. If you can make like high quality, like let's
like the
we drop
quality
word
is just going to have to go like.
It's no longer just slop. It's just like AI video.
Yeah. And people will have to, you know, understand. Yeah. So it's all about the video itself, not about like creating the content, because the barrier to entry is so low now.
Yeah.
And will just get lower and lower and lower. It's then about the actual content and how that shapes. So it doesn't matter if it's from an AI
I think
or a human,
like
right?
Sora 2 was probably the first time where I was like, oh, that's actually
Kind of mad.
pretty solid. And I have noticed, like, you know, when these first image DO3 and Nano Banana and all that sort of stuff, when it first came out, even Wall-E, actually, I remember, this is probably 3 years ago, or Dolly, sorry, not Wall-E. Dolly, like 3 years ago when they first came out, and that was like, they were the first to do text I'm saying this from a naive position where I wasn't like fully in the space at the time, but I'm pretty sure they were the first to do text to image generation.
Okay.
And that blew my mind at the time, but it was like pretty not that great. But I could type in like, and now I'm saying this out loud, like this doesn't seem impressive at all, but I'd type in like, cat in a hat or something, and it would like, I'd be more specific, like red cat in a blue hat, in a castle.
Yeah.
And it would create an image of a red cat in a blue hat in a castle. And like at the time, I was like, this is mental. Like I was showing my
create
boys,
the power in my
like,
hands. Is
I was
crazy.
like, say a sentence, say a word, like describe anything in the world, and then like you do it, and I'd be like, show him a photo of it, and he'd be like, that's kind of cool. Now it doesn't seem like cool at all. It just seems like standard run-of-the-mill stuff. And this is also, now I'm saying this out loud, I'm sorry, I'm literally just like on some mad tangent here, but
No, go for it. This is cool.
there must be a word or a phrase or like a way to describe this phenomenon, but like the phenomenon of where like something will change incrementally, right? And like, so you don't really notice it as it changes. Like, let's say your hair, you go and get a haircut. You don't really one day wake up and be like you don't notice your hair's growing, if you know what I mean. Like it's growing so slowly,
Right.
that you're like live adjusting to the length of your hair. So you can't. There isn't a moment where you react and be like, "Oh,
Yeah,
my hair's so long." Like, until the point where like one day maybe you look at it and your hair is down to your shoulders, something like that.
Like
but,
you can't see it growing. Yeah.
But if I saw you the day you got your haircut and I didn't see you for like 5 months, and then like I saw you at the end of 5 months, I'd be like, "Oh, Luke, your hair's so long. Like it's grown so much." You know what I mean? But you'd be like, "Oh, really?" Like I don't really know. It's like because it's that slow incremental time.
Yeah.
And I feel like you can apply that same thing here to what we're seeing with these developments in AI, where like, and I just had a moment then, right? Like I remember back in the day, like at first when I was describing that thing about the text to image, like, oh yeah, it's not that bad.
Oh, so okay. So what you're saying is when you look back, and you look and you remember a time when, the first time when you got kind of like, oh my god, this is crazy. You look back at that and how things have changed to now, and you go, whoa, that's a massive difference.
Yeah.
But throughout the time, all of those incremental changes,
They're so minor.
They're so minor that they haven't. But then again, it was the thing that we talked about in the first show, where it's like we're getting almost like humans generally are getting almost like desensitized to just these world-changing things that are happening in tech. So it makes me want to read that book because it's interesting because things are happening that are genuinely changing our lives pretty much every day, if not every week, right? To be conservative. And is that not like, that's not a stagnation of it's just a different type of like, moving forward, right? So like in the industry of in the industrial kind of revolution, they were like physical changes that were happening to your life, right? Whereas here it's things that are happening, like say the SpaceX launch. No, because that's a physical thing. But like all of these updates from say OpenAI, they just launched Atlas, their kind of like web agent that essentially allows it to, use your keyboard, use your trackpad, and all of that.
Go
kind of
heavily
stuff.
into that. I'm quite pumped to go.
Yeah,
into that,
we'll go into that later in the show. And so it's interesting because that is like a genuine change that could affect like you booking a flight, you paying for like a new blazer, whatever it is, right?
But the argument there is like that, yes, these things are all great, and like maybe GDP is increasing or whatever, or like the statistics show that GDP might be increasing, let's say, but I'm going to the shop and everything's cost like 4 or 5 times as much and my wage hasn't increased.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, that's all great on paper, but like what about like real money, real wages? Like, are we actually in a technological advanced society then? Like if your average person goes in and like Lurpak's like £9 or something, that's not going to peak, isn't it? I mean,
Such a tangent. Anyway, I think we've got David on. David, can you hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can't really hear.
I can't hear David.
Oh.
But David can hear us.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I know why. Sorry, David, 1 second.
What have you done?
I'm just on Riverside, but I'm trying to get in.
I can just hear like a weird thing in my ear.
Oh, there we go. David, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you. This is weird.
No.
Maybe take your headphones out.
Yeah.
I don't think
I'll
it'll be
try
that.
that.
Can you mute your thing? Let me just see.
I'm muted. Yeah.
Wait.
Does this work?
Can you hear us, David?
I can't hear.
David can't hear us.
Yes or
It
no?
looks like we're no. I don't think you can. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties right now. I'm just trying to.
Are you hearing like a weird thing in
Yeah,
your
like
ear?
a stop and a start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also getting that.
Yeah, this is
Can you hear me
strange.
now?
Okay, good stuff.
Let me, David. Let me email David. Wait, David, you can hear us, right? Okay, David's dropped.
Okay, David's left.
temporarily-
This is great.
We've scared.
Things happen in showbiz that you just got to deal with, right? It happens live.
Technical
Not
difficulties. To be
changing.
fair, that's probably the first one we've had that's
Proper
been a
technical
real
difficulty
problem.
where the
Yeah.
where the guest has had to leave. Yeah.
maybe because I need to make sure that he's joining with both links. 'Cause
These
that
things
sometimes
happen.
Is a problem. Okay, let me just ping. Do you have David's WhatsApp?
Yeah. I'll ping
Can
David.
you tell him to join on both links?
Yeah.
Just so we can make
You
sure.
take something else up. Maybe come back to the conversation we were having about Lurpak.
Yeah, the £9 lure pack. Very funny. No, I want to talk briefly. Oh, we've got David back in already. David,
I
Can
now
you hear us?
can't hear David at all.
we are having some technical difficulties.
Actual
live
recording is
on
high quality.
The show. I'm getting. So David, your audio is very stop and start. It's like a millisecond of your voice, and then it cuts out. But I'm not. Can you hear us? Thumbs up or thumbs down. You can hear us. Did you join on both links on the invite? There are two links. Oh, you have
Yes.
done that. Okay, so we are.
So this is a technical issue on our side,
this
I
is
believe.
the technical difficulties for us.
The volume is up. Yeah. It's like a stop and start.
We're just speaking to our technical crew.
He's left now.
We've scared
Or
him
he's
off again.
rejoining. Speak, David. No.
This is
Although the
unfortunate.
audio is gone. Oh,
I just got a little glimmer of your voice, David, and it raised my spirits.
I can hear you.
Wait,
Huge.
I can hear you, but very quietly. Can you hear
Yeah,
me
that's
properly?
fine. Just turn your volume up. Okay, is everyone good? We're on the stream. Boom. Let's go. We're live. David, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Yeah, good.
can hear
live
David
live problem
perfectly.
solving. That's what you had to do building the 20-hour co and all sorts. What you're doing now.
Right, we've lost
Let-
some minutes. Let's get into it.
Tell us what's new. We'll run over a little bit of time if you can.
Yeah, sure.
Um,
What's new? I guess working on quite a lot of things right now, building agentic infrastructure for a bunch of companies and really enjoying what I'm doing. I'm going to be joining the government very soon, sort of help them to make the UK the best
Damn.
place in the world. So
Nice.
This
Wait, hold
guy-
on. That's just
this guy's cracked.
joining. Can we hear more about that, or is that are you joining MI6?
I'm not sure how much I can tell at the moment. I can only say that I'm going to be joining 10 Downing Street very soon and be working with Owen.
Let's just get one
congratulations.
quick out for saving the
Appreciate
UK.
it.
Superman over here.
Amazing. And is that what specifically will you be working on in 10 Downing Street?
I think probably.
Not sure if I'm allowed to say yet, but it's going to be around public sector, trying to make things a bit more efficient by the use of technology, right? So speaking with people who are facing problems in the past 20, 30 years because of no tech innovation. And now there's like a big movement from within the government to try and change those things, which is
Awesome.
great.
Yeah, no, that's really great. We met actually at the House of Lords properly about 2 weeks ago, and I remember having a conversation with you talking about London and the ecosystem and how kind of bullish you are on London specifically as a city. Can you let's kind of deep dive that and explore like why you think that, and then we can kind of go from there.
Yeah, I think Europe as a whole is going towards a very interesting direction in terms of the innovation perspective. But then London's probably the pinnacle of it. I think a lot of great minds are starting to become more ambitious and to wake up to the reality that if you do want to create something exceptional, then you're probably not going to get it if you're going to work for a big corporation, right? So you have to sort of start something on your own. and more people every day are building things and shipping them quickly and competing in American markets that used to be very sort of small and competitive only for them. And you see that with the amount of companies outside of the United States are becoming quite known worldwide and scaling up to like huge figures very quickly.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I think the rate of shipping in the EU ecosystem, yeah, as you say, is like accelerating so fast. And we've had lots of people on the show kind of talking about that. Is there anything specific in London that you kind of want to deep dive on? I know you've got your unicorn behind you, which is quite cool.
No way.
Yeah. Well, we are building a community here. It started off as like a hackathon kind of thing, right? We met a bunch of people that we thought are quite interesting and we wanted to stay in touch. So this group was formed, and then we kind of like scaled it up a little bit. We didn't know what to call it. We had a few options for a few names, and we've kind of like locked in on Unicorn Mafia. And that sort of became a really big thing a few months ago when we just started realizing, holy shit, we have like 400 or 500 members within this tiny little group, and we've managed to do quite a lot of really impressive things with them. So I've been flown out to New York City for a hackathon, all expenses paid. We're doing the same thing next month in Finland for the Junction Hackathon, right? So there's been quite a lot of very new type of opportunities that we've been able to give to our developers. We might fly them out next year to the United States to see a space launch. So it's been quite interesting to see also the amount of support that we get from the ecosystem. A lot of very big companies are trying to collaborate with us and help us to sort of take it to the next level. We've just launched an office space, so Unicorn Mafia members will be able to basically work from free from a Unicorn Mafia office, right? So it's going to be quite interesting next few months, I think, for the group.
That's really cool. It's nice to hear. We had Bella Wirtz from Tech Europe on.
Do you know Bella?
Yeah, Bella's part of Unicorn Mafia.
Oh, no way.
There we go.
Yeah.
So,
He didn't have the unicorn behind him though. He's got a.
Yeah,
has to be a
it's
thing
still
for-
we're still launching it.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, it's not all Unicorn Mafia members have to have their unicorn on them at all times. That could be a cool rule.
Yeah,
Cool down.
not all
No
the
way.
time, but yeah,
Wow.
just festive occasions.
Yeah,
Could be
yeah.
trying to-
Maybe have a little badge or something.
Could be-
No, that's
could
just
be-
so weird.
Could be
Don't do that.
badge,
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do
Don't
that.
let Luke run your community because everyone will be walking around with like, "Hello, my name's got a big badge on there." Thing.
Well, next time I'm in your studio, I'm going to give you a unicorn, right? So you can put it in the back.
Yeah,
Have it
we'll,
on here.
we'll save a space for the unicorn.
Put it. We can move this cap actually and put it there.
Yeah,
Some
we'll
prime
move our
minister.
merch and put your unicorn.
Hell
there.
yeah.
That'd be cool.
That's really cool. And what I was going to say was with Bella was like, it's really cool to see. And maybe this is like, all of us kind of are aware that there is maybe like an optimism shift or like a feeling of shifting in terms of like optimistic views for the future for Europe. There is so much work to do on like a macro scale, but like in these sort of micro areas, you can kind of feel this shift that's happening. And it's really cool to see like people like you and people like Bella that are, taking the lead on setting up these, going back to what Andreas Klinger said, like these really dense communities of like high caliber talent, whether it's, technical stuff or not. But it's really nice to see that you guys are helping like reduce the barriers to entry for people of your same ilk to come in and work together. Maybe when previously they wouldn't be able to like, I don't know, they didn't have a group to do it with, they didn't have a place to work from. So that's really cool. What I'd love to jump into a bit more is like, I guess it's a product of this, but the 24-hour co and the story between
20-hour
them. 'Cause I think literally just last
20
night,
hour co.
20-hour co.
4
sorry.
hours less.
Yeah, it's like even
4 hours.
impressive.
4 hours more impressive.
Yeah, it's not the 1 day co, it's the 20-hour co.
Yeah.
But I know this happened like a couple months back, but I saw a thread from Anton, I think it was. And I saw that recently, so I'm not sure if my algorithm has just like regurgitated it up or there was a new post, I can't remember. But I saw it last night. Would love to hear the story of that because the story of that is mental and it's just a genius way of running a hackathon. So if you would share it with our viewers, I'm sure they'd love to hear it.
Yeah, of course. So I myself have been doing hackathons quite religiously in the past few years. And at that time that sort of idea came about, me and other friends of mine around the space, I felt that there is, I guess, this kind of feeling in the industry where most projects that you'll build, they never actually go outside of the development lifecycle. So no one actually monetizing or properly launching all those projects, although they're quite cool. So then about 2 months ago, I believe, Project Europe, collaboration with 20 VC and Lovable, have announced something called Project Lovable in Stockholm. So I got very intrigued and excited, and their scope was simply build something unreasonable. So Charlie and I just did a hackathon about a week prior to this. So I've called him up and asked him if he would go to Sweden with me. He obviously said yes. And then we called up Henry, who I've worked with in the past, and Henry called Leo and Luke. And we basically had a team of 5. And to get accepted into Project Lovable, you had to submit a video application, right? So we needed to submit a sort of, I guess, like a hype video explaining why we should get selected. So we went over Granola's offices where Luke worked and recorded a 1-minute pitch video of what we're going to do. We decided on the spot, I guess, that we need to be extra ambitious with it. If we actually want to fulfill the criteria of being unreasonable, we need to go beyond the usual hackathon bandwidth. So we've pitched an idea that within a 20-hour hackathon scope, we're going to build, launch, and sell a company. That video sort of exploded on LinkedIn, and we started getting an obscene amount of inbound. So essentially, mostly founders who are looking for a product that they probably wanted and was sitting on their like brain shelf for a little while, and they felt like this was the perfect opportunity to get it done in a short amount of time. One of the offers kind of stood out. We spoke with this amazing person called Brian Walker, the founder of Revel, and we really liked his energy and vision and decided to go ahead with him. So we get flown out to Sweden, right? Now, bear in mind, we knew that the product that we're going to build for Brian is not that commercially interesting in the hackathon space. It's not going to go viral, right? Because it's a lead generation project. So we've realized that we might need to do something extra and commit to the bit just to get more visibility. So the plan going into this was that we're going to get into the hacker house or the venue and vibe code a 20-hour landing page 5 minutes into the start of the competition, and then publish it online to build some vibe and some sort of like hype via sponsorships. Inspiration came from the $1 Million homepage. Do you know that?
Oh yeah. This is
Yeah,
like an old thing in SF, right? That and it had like
And
thousands
he sold like ad space for,
for pixels and stuff.
Yeah.
So ironically enough, 20 years ago in 2005, right, this dude called Alex Dew, which was a student from England, wanted to raise some cash for his education. So he created this homepage, which he would sell basically every pixel on that webpage for $1, right? So we thought this is just like almost like a sign from the gods, like another sign of like 20 years ago, 20 hours, 20 VC. So we did a play on that. And by sort of highlighting the sponsors pages and podcast pages of personal brands of people who basically gave us lending checks, we've managed to get about 8,000 euros in small sponsorships. And that all happened in about 4 hours into the hackathon. So as we do that, we're jumping in and out of like calls with Brian to scope out his desired build. And then we're sending some first prototypes. We're operating like literally a small company within that venue. Was really one of a kind experiences. I've had my screen split between Zoom calls and Claude Code. I was like vibe coding and then pitching some people in the United States to repost our posts. We managed to get the Cludy guys involved. We've used the money of the sponsorship to actually get the first hire within that hackathon as well. So we've actually hired a video editor to polish the footage that we've made there to create some extra hype. And yeah, we've registered on Company's House just before midnight, and in the morning after 9 a.m., we've sold the company for $20,000 and signed it just before the hackathon finished, which, I guess got me this headline of Europe's fastest exited founder.
That is absolutely nuts.
That is a wild story.
That's absolutely
because
nuts.
you kind of forget how there's a ton of admin as well. Like it's quite admin heavy to set up a company and sell it, and then doing that all while building it and running. I didn't realize you were working. I thought it was literally just a LinkedIn comment. I think it was, right? It was a LinkedIn comment that you first met. Sorry, was it Martin? Was it Martin? What was the guy that
Martin?
What was the guy
Brian.
that bought it?
Brian.
Oh, Brian. Sorry, don't know why I had Martin in my head. You were calling him while you were doing this. So he was literally like helping you build it, and you were like vibe coding the whole thing.
It's a mix of everything, because like you have to pitch the acquirer, right? Because we didn't know if Brian's gonna go with it. Like maybe 10 a.m. he like chickens out and says, you know what, this is not meeting my expectations. or this is not good enough, or actually I've changed my mind, I don't want this. So there is always this like aspect. So we needed to obviously maintain the sort of build that we want to build for him, but also build a relationship and trust, create hype online by trying to create an advertising campaign for this whole thing, to give him good value. Because at the end of the day, we thought better than just building him a product, if we can give him visibility for his startup, that's already a win.
Yeah.
That's
So all of
insane.
that together in a very short amount of time. Yeah.
When you're just speed running like a pre-seed startup, right? Like incorporation, hype video, raise in brackets, because we all raise pre-seed of 8K, I guess, for this, but I guess it's sponsorship cash. You know,
Yeah.
design partner find, iterate with design partner free of charge on the promise that if you execute on like a certain LOI, then they will then, you know, purchase the product at this date or at this time. In this case, I guess it was an acquisition. That's insane. I mean, when you look at that, especially for people who might be not struggling but might not know how to go through like a fundraising process or like what a startup looks like that as a case study, like as like a microcosmic case study, I think could be super valuable.
Yeah,
Just, like tell this story.
I've got two questions just quickly. Is more content coming out about it? And ask that question. I'll answer that question first. No, I'll go.
Yeah, the 20-hour company is done, right? Like we've done what we wanted to do, so there's nothing else that's coming about it. But there's a lot of things that are coming out of it, and I think that's what we wanted to highlight. It completely changed the way that we view hackathons. I think also the experience that we've got with Kitty and Project Europe was incredible. Like the fact that you get selected and you get flown out to like a different country to do something that is completely bizarre is something that is really, really cool. And that's exactly what I want to do. A lot of replications of that, and give a lot of developers the opportunity to go outside of their comfort zone and go to like cool countries and literally just like hack all weekend.
Yeah. Let's kind of go more generally in like Project Europe and what you feel they're doing like really, really right, because obviously like, you know, they didn't launch that long ago and they're like absolutely killing it. You know, Kitty and Jade are flying kind of like all around Europe, meeting these like insane builders from literally every corner of Europe. What do you think is the kind of best thing that's going to come out of kind of Project Europe and the vibe that, you know, you can kind of create with a brand like that?
I think Project Europe is creating sort of a change in mentality of people around here, and it making it more sexy for people to understand how good it is to build.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like it's sending a message out there to people that are very young and maybe didn't even graduate or are dropping out of university, to build something that can, you know, change the landscape of the country or the continent that we're a part of. And I think this has a massive impact on everyone's life, right? It's one of the best things that have come out of the UK in the past 20 years.
Yeah. I agree.
So I'm projecting like a lot of very positive things coming out of Project Europe. It's essentially, you know, it's a VC, but I think it's a VC that champions growth within this area, which not a lot of people have done. And now it's kind of like changing. We see more and more people trying to get on this like European thing, celebrate it, invest in here. A lot of Americans are coming here to now invest, right? So it's a different game, and I think a lot of it has to do with this kind of jargon.
Yeah, and like props to the launch of Project Europe was absolutely nuts, right? It was executed just in an
Yeah, like
insanely
flawlessly.
good way, right? Like,
And also Harry's you know hired very well.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Kitty, well, we spoke to Kitty on the old show, and it was just such amazing insights.
I think one of the best
amazing
guests we had on.
executor. Yeah, without a doubt. Like it was just so. You can just see how bought in she is, how much she cares, which is like a really cool moment. But the execution of the launch, I remember seeing it. One, it was everywhere. Like wherever I looked, I saw it. Like X, LinkedIn, but like also anyone in my network was liking it, or like anyone in my network that was maybe a bit more seasoned, like a veteran, had more skin in the game, was involved. So like that cap table of like, I think it's something like 208 founders now across Europe, all of like very successful software companies on the cap table, all sharing the post, all doing their own post, but also mixing that with like a merch drop as well.
Yeah.
With the caps, which are now kind of like these infamous Project Europe caps, the infamous Project Europe jumpers. Like we all know what, like I say infamous because we all know what they are just by me saying that. And just I think they hit like 14,000 followers after the first 24 or 48 hours. I can't remember. That was on LinkedIn.
It grew super
alone.
quick, yeah.
But I agree. The value. I mean, again, I don't know too much about the cohorts and like what's happening for them. Post. I think Harry put up a good post the other day about describing a few of them. But the value alone that I just see straight away is like this mentality shift, right? Like this like optimism, this hope, this like you can just come and do this thing if you want to do it. Like take a swing, which I think is super necessary.
Yeah. Are you guys going to do like a launch video type thing with Unicorn Mafia?
We will eventually. I think right now we're trying to contain like the monster that has become.
Yeah.
We have a lot of members from a lot of different backgrounds,
All
and
building a ton of random things.
Precisely, and all of us have like 500 side projects as well. So it's a lot to maintain. But yeah, we're definitely going to do something about it. We also going to speak more about it. We're going to invite people into our offices and create really cool side events for everyone who wants to take part of supporting developers in the UK. So yeah, there's a lot of things that are going to be announced in the next few months.
Awesome.
That's awesome. I'm getting a bit worried about time. We're already a little bit over.
Yeah, we had to kind of go over, but look, it's super nice to have you on. And as grows and you have more kind of things coming on, let's get you back on the show. Let's get some people from on as well. Thanks for taking the time.
Cheers, David.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you for having me, guys.
Good stuff.
Great to chat.
Have a good rest of your day.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Bye.
Ciao. Nice, really cool.
I think could be like pretty big.
Well, it's just like a bunch of really intelligent individuals.
Also, with his
that are
position
technical as
going
well.
on, I didn't realize he was going into Downing Street as well. Like
Yeah,
his
what the
position
hell?
going, I didn't know.
So how are you? The government have like personally called me in to save the country. Oh right, cool.
Yeah, nice.
So I love that he was like, he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh nice. Like, what's the role about? He's like, I can't really say too much. Then you were like, what specifically will you be doing there?
Look, you just you've got to probe. You've got to.
I can't say. Like, if you can't even answer, like what is doing your work, you're like, sorry.
He gave a little bit more flavour. I just had to probe him a little bit more.
Break down second by second what you will be doing on your first day.
That's jokes. A few words on our sponsors. SeaPoint, get back control of your finances with SeaPoint, your startup's financial home. SeaPoint is a business account that handles invoice payments, expenses, payroll, and reporting. Go to seapoint.co.
Let me tell you folks a little bit about my friend Jack and my friend Jill. Don't miss the unmissable jobs at the hottest companies. Jack and Jill will listen to what you want and search thousands of jobs, new jobs every hour to find job opportunities worth seeing.
Go to jackandjill.ai. And is the word and, not.
Yes, AND.
Correct.
For those who aren't familiar.
Awesome stuff. Well, look, we don't have too long before our next guest comes on. Our next guest is Amal at Saturn. They've just announced their $15 million raise. I think it was led by, I want to say Axel. Is that right? So it's going to be interesting to talk to them. Their branding is so cool.
Led by European VC Singular, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Participant from Shapers, Y Combinator, and Xeno Ventures. Their branding is amazing. I'm quite pumped to talk to Amal. I actually met Rohit a while back now. This is when he was building out the prototype for Saturn.
Okay. How long have they been working on this? Because it's their Series A, isn't it? It's not pre-seed. I got it wrong at the beginning. It's a Series A.
Yeah, sorry, Series A funding. They've been working on it for about 3 years. 3 years. So I was still at Pigment when I met Rohit. I met him in a pub in Soho.
Yeah.
With Dan Jones. This was ages ago. But yeah, Saturn was a baby at this point. Saturn wasn't a thing. They were. I think they were working on design partnerships. They were trying to figure out what the product looked like. Initially, I don't think they've pivoted. I think they've kept it locked in as what it was, because we were talking about FP&A in general, because obviously Pigment was an FP&A tool.
Yeah.
And it was funny because our spiel back then is like, it's like really poor version control. There's no single source of truth. It's prone to human error. All this stuff about why you shouldn't be doing your financial analysis and planning for a company on Excel. You should be doing it in an FP&A tool like Pigment or Anaplan or Mosaic, whatever. Theirs was slightly different though. It was more poised towards advisors. So there were similarities in the value prop for it, but very much more on like a financial advisor's standpoint, not like selling direct to companies. But yeah, that was 3 years ago. So really cool to see that. I haven't caught up with Rohit too much since. We've had a few WhatsApps back, I think it was like a year ago, but it's really good to see that those guys, they got their heads down and they're clearly.
I think it's the right time as well. Like, everyone talks about, the kind of widening of the advice gap and the wealthy can only have advice and all of this kind of stuff. And with AI, like, it's just, you can kind of completely break that and, provide it for a lot of other people that might not be able to access it, because it makes it viable for the advisor. That's why less wealthy people can't use advice, because it's not as like they'll just be losing money. Advisors will just be losing money.
Yeah. It's not like financially viable for them to give like 20% of their net worth
Exactly.
for advice on how to. The advice would be like, don't give me your 20% of your
Yeah. Well, it's just like their conflict of interest is huge if they're not making any money.
Yeah, I think that like from an angle where it's like analysing numbers and stuff and be like, okay, this number shouldn't be this high. Have you thought about reducing spend on meals out? Let's say, for example. What I'm not bearish on, but I'm cautious around is like whether, again, the model will probably be trained on some specific data set, which is great, or it might use like one of the world models, I'm not sure. But like what I would be worried about is like with finances, like personal finances, you really want things to be airtight. You want it to be like a 99.99999% accuracy rate in the results that you get from whatever LLM that you're using, right?
Right.
And that's like a line that I feel that like, I'm cool if you like mess up my emails or like you mess up like.
Oh right, if you
my
get the
notes
finances
page.
wrong, like you're seriously lying.
But if you start like misallocating my personal money, then that's
well, I mean, look, like
not right cool.
Yeah, but Saturn is. And we'll hear more, more. But Saturn is more directing the advisors. So like they're solving the admin problem with advisors.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. I think actually he's just joining now.
Have we got Amal in the
Amal, can you hear us?
studio?
Awesome
Stuff. Just checking with our producer. Are we good to go? Video.
No
Amal,
video.
Can you? There are two links on the invite. I'm not sure if you've joined them both. If not, were you able to? If you have, please tell me to shut up.
Oh yeah, join both.
It's there should be another link in there. Yeah. It's just so the stream can see your video as well. We can see you, but our lovely viewers can't see.
Yeah.
They should both
Join
be
that.
on
Join
the,
that link at the same time as
on the Gmeet.
the
So you can
Riverside.
just click them both, join them both, and then just That should be good to go. I've got Jose tweeting us out here saying, I'm still sold on the bowler hats. Jose, we will have to get a bowler hat at some point. And when we do, my friend, we'll send one over to you.
Will someone ETN branded or not? Is that a bit too far?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely ETN branded. See, this AI stuff, it's coming up everywhere on my Twitter now. I'm just watching a video of a cat with a shotgun.
Okay. Amal is live on ETN. How's it going, Amal?
Amazing. How are you
Good
doing?
stuff. Yeah, we're good. Congrats on the raise and the announcement.
Thank you so much. It's an amazing set of days that's had.
I think first things first, we want to hear all about the raise. Well, maybe what is Saturn first, then all about the raise.
Absolutely. Saturn is building an operating layer for wealth management. What I mean by that is currently wealth management and financial advice is basically bottlenecked by tons of admin and compliance processes. Although clarity and transparency and compliance is required, right now there's tons of process and people just employed to do it. And removing that will allow us to scale financial advice to a lot more people. And the mission of Saturn is to do exactly that, to help financial advice reach 1 billion people.
Wow, awesome. And then the raise, I want to dig into this specifically. Then we've got a few more questions around the early days at Saturn, I saw some stuff. I want to talk about like FCA and the regulation process going through that. What does that look like? But the raise specifically, you've done 50 million Series A. What have you raised to date? You know, was there a pre-seed, seed? Now we're at Series A. Like, can we walk us through that journey and then more on the raise specifically?
Absolutely. This is our first price round. So far, we went through completely a bootstrap journey until we got into YC, and we took some money on Safe Uncapped, and then we were searching for the right partner to allow us to boost what we have into a lot more of advice firms. And we found Singular and Shapers along the journey. Two great funds, new funds, started out in Europe and another one in the UK. And they specifically understand this industry really well, and understand fintech and understand how good operators work. And since then, we just got along and focused on solving this problem one by one.
Very cool. And you've just thrown YC there out. So I met Rohit about 3 years ago now, and this was before Saturn, I think, had customers. I think it was prototype days. Maybe you're speaking to a couple design partners. I met him in a pub in Soho with two friends of mine. Because I used to work at a company called Pigment that did some like FP&A stuff, so that we had a chat around the similarities between that. Ours was more like B2B stuff. But we stayed in touch. We speak like very occasionally. I think it was like last year that I caught up with him. But I saw that in SF there was this like Cybertruck growth hack thing that you guys did. I'd love to hear more about that because that sounded really cool. But you drove around in a Cybertruck around SF or something. I can't remember specifically.
Absolutely, delightful days. So yeah, good to know that you know Rohit. Rohit is one of the main reasons that I'm doing in this together. The Cybertruck story is pretty funny. We were 3 days away from Future Proof, which is one of the US's biggest advisor conference, and we did not have a stand, and we needed to do some kind of entrance where people can remember Saturn, and we wanted to test out the demo that we built out with the advisors there. So what we did was we got a Cybertruck, branded it on Saturn all under a day, and then drove from SF to Huntington Beach, and then from there it was fascinating. And we just took people from the place where the conference was done to back to their hotels, and then we started doing demos and pitching in between. And it was just fascinating time to do that a lot. Although we are not in the US now, it just gave us a lot more clarity how to understand the pain points that they have, which is very different compared to the UK.
Yeah.
So just so I get this right, you kind of like, instead of setting up a booth, because you're making use of what you have around you, but you essentially turn the Cybertruck into like a taxi service for financial advisors to get from the conference back to wherever they were staying.
Absolutely. Yeah. We just had a really old filing cabinet just behind it with just tons of papers behind it to just make a statement. Is this your old CRM or back office? And then just drove a lot of people just queuing up, and we just took them around and showed demos of Saturn.
That's hilarious. Do things that don't scale, right?
Yeah,
That's
clever.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
really cool.
But
Okay.
it's a
How did
sick
you come
car.
up with this idea? That's an insane idea.
For Cybertruck. Yeah, I mean, we just had to figure out a way. We love Cybertrucks, and we had to figure out a way to kind of stand out and do some kind of guerrilla marketing. But we had to kind of do it quite quickly. We had multiple other ideas. The thing that fit our budget and something that's fun was Cybertruck in a filing cabinet. So yeah, we just did it together and get it out.
So
I
awesome.
love that. Let's deep dive on the on kind of where you guys are focusing geographically. You mentioned you're in London. Is that just like you're just focusing on UK to kind of get the regulation going? Are you planning on kind of expanding to the US like anytime soon? What's the kind of next like 6 months looking like? Now you've announced the raise and you're kind of heads down building.
Absolutely. So it was a very important choice to make between US versus UK
Yeah.
initially while we were in YC. We were trying to launch in both areas. And the reason we ended up making that choice to stop doing the Cybertruck stuff and just focus on UK is because of one fact that we learned, that compliance cost is 3 times more in the UK and Commonwealth countries where similar regulations apply compared to the US. And we understood, yes, AI is a wave and AI is a solution, but we fell in love with the problem of financial advice instead of searching for a solution of AI and trying to launch it and blitzscale it as fast as we can. So our choice was go for a market where a bigger problem exists and not a lot of people were solving it. And in the UK and multiple other areas, the penetration of wealth management, penetration of financial advice, it's also unrelated, but 3 times less than the US. So only 1 in 10 people in the UK can access financial advice, whereas in the US, 3 out of 10 people have access to financial advisors. So for us, it was very clear. If we can take the biggest, hardest regulator and try to kind of simplify that, but also bring a lot of clarity and safety to these advisors, and then figure out a way to scale them and support them, we could probably do in multiple other areas. So we started with UK first, and now we are expanding early next year into Australia and multiple other Anglo-Saxon or Commonwealth countries where the regulations are very similar at the moment.
Wow, really cool. And like I imagine that so like financial services in general as pretty regulated industry, as we all know, it's like typically known as like a hard industry to sell into, whether it's like a B2B standpoint or a B2C standpoint, whatever it is. But it's clear that there is obviously demand for the product, right? And then you guys are very keen to ship said product, but you have the regulators in the middle. Like what's it been working with them, right? Because we're all very much aware of like the UK and I guess Europe in general, sometimes like to regulate first, then innovate, instead of the other way around. What's the response been like from, I don't know, the FCA, for example? I think I saw something about you guys you've got a really great relationship with them. Could you walk us through what that dynamic looks like today and how they've been essentially reacting to AI coming into this world?
Absolutely. The difference between, like you said, a US regulator versus a UK regulator, we all know how both the philosophy of regulating is. They draw a regulatory box and they want to function inside it, and innovation, all of it happens inside it. Whereas US is like innovation happens first and regulation catches up to it. Whereas in the UK, I think I do get where the vision of FCA is. And that's why we started to work through the innovation pathway and starting to launch products by showing them in their sprint cycle. And at the same time, we started to look at financial advisors and say, what is your biggest set of problems that you have? The biggest set of problems that they have is each time FCA or a regulator starts to add a regulation, they are adding 10 to different steps of processes that basically increases the cost of advice. So in some sense, regulation can come off as short-sighted, not really understanding how innovation can change it. So the approach that we took was really understanding the compliance from day one, and then figuring out a way, which parts of these processes can we start to automate. While doing that, how can we improve the scalability problem, enabling these advisors to serve 2 to 3 times more clients than they have done before. And our approach has been like that from day one.
Okay, cool. And you're marketing directly to the advisors. We obviously looked on your website. The branding is like impeccable and really, really cool. I love it. What's your kind of like go-to-market function? How are you getting these guys on board? And I imagine it's quite a like non-tech kind of industry, right? So it's quite old. You've got to change a lot of the processes. Is there any kickback from advisors at all, or are they like, we know what's going on with AI, and we want a part of it because it can help me, help more clients?
Absolutely. In about 2017, I moved from India to the UK, and around 2018, I started working with a lot of startups and also financial advisors, estate planners, mortgage advisors, etc., trying to do their admin through tech. At that point, advisors did not see tech as a savior. They just threw more people into that problem, more processes into that problem. And all of a sudden, when ChatGPT came in, they started to see AI as a savior, because at that same time, a lot of regulations were added in, like consumer duty in the UK, that just like bottleneck the advisor. Like they can't grow without adding tech. So all the board had tech as the number one priority, and AI is the number one priority. And at the same time, they wanted to see something that really, really works. So Saturn's growth since launch in 2024, our first product, has been phenomenal. What has been is, even to this day, 99% of our growth and even leads come inbound. And for us, it's been that word of mouth that has led from that excellent service that we gave for the first 10 to 15 customers. They started to talk a lot more. Then we figured out a way to kind of still maintain that relationship with each and other advisors that we onboard. Because what we are trying to do is trying to change their business and transform their business into something that's more scalable. That's a little bit scary to them. But what we do is we have an amazing partnership team that do handhold kind of like onboarding, and at the same time, a community of advisors and power planners and admin staff that we have built where they can interact with each other. And these two has been the main reasons our growth of go-to-market has been. And from here, we start to experiment new products and launch new products to our existing advisor base. And once this kicks in, we start to kind of launch it further back to the industry. And this journey, building and partnering with the industry, has been an amazing one.
Wow, that's such a powerful model, right? I know like Nick Jablonka over at Coform is doing something similar like this, where it's not like necessarily community first, but you know, he operates in an area of like solution architects, right? So like technical sales individuals, and like those communities are on like face service quite large. But when you like look at a community like that in London, it's actually very tight knit, and everyone knows everyone in that community. So I think once you can sort of gain the trust of these communities with value and show that your products can actually help them, and you manage to get welcomed in, then like as you say, I guess it's just
It's like
referral
the
after
snowball just, like,
referral.
starts,
Yeah. You just
Are you seeing any? Are you seeing any of the advisors' clients like kind of finding you maybe on LinkedIn or whatever? Like, you know, I guess an advisor's client might be someone who might, you know, own a tech company or whatever, and will be tapped into what's going on, and then see you and then refer their advisor to you. Is that a thing or not?
I mean, some of them have happened, but it's not widely done at the moment yet. But what we want to do, our important thing is support the advisors from the background to enable them to do more. That's our goal. But the fascinating thing is, like you said, the snowball effect of when you do an amazing service to these advisors, it just like happens a lot. I was joking during the fundraising process that advisors talk more than VCs. And advisors really do. If you do actually do an amazing service, the kind of word that gets around, and we have a wait list of people trying to join our product. And that's the kind of level of go to market or like a success that you can start to get.
so cool. And then just going back to the raise, like you mentioned, there were potential expansion plans for Australia early next year. Can we maybe hear what this money is going to be like deployed for? Like, where are the areas of focus? Is it hiring? Is it expansion? I guess both of them come into it. But yeah, can you maybe break down how you guys going to use the Series A cash?
Absolutely. So very simply, if you look at this market, a subset of wealth management, financial advice, just in the UK, they generate about 10 billion revenue. About $7 billion in revenue is spent on admin and like ops stuff. And if you look at that, and if you're trying to transform that change, it requires a lot of hand holding and change management. What I mean by that is when we are trying to launch new products, we need to ensure we really partner with these firms to reduce and scale this service that they currently have. So the number one goal for us is the service that we have given so far. We want to ensure we scale that level of gold standard service. And the second bit we are going to invest into is that 70% of the cost that goes into admin and ops, we really want to understand it. We call it the assembly line of advice. We want to understand it, and really understand where can AI change things, where can new tech and processes change things, and then start to launch a lot of products that builds an operating system for wealth management. And once that is done, our third focus is to scale this to multiple other regions and multiple other parts of wealth management. So that's the goal that we have. In order to do that, we need to have an amazing team. We need to do a lot of experiments, a lot of new product releases, and at the same time, invest a lot into the community of advisors, community of wealth managers, and admin staff that we are building at the moment.
Fascinating stuff. And on that, like, what's the breakdown? Like, you obviously have the community of financial advisors. I assume you work incredibly close with them. I assume you probably have WhatsApp like channels with a lot of them. They're probably in the Slacks as well. But is there an instance in which like someone that you bring into the team is essentially required to have a background in this? Like, I'm not sure what your background is and Rohit's is, like, and whether it comes from a background of wealth management and financial sort of like traditional finance. But is that like a key thing for individuals to join your team? Like, do they have to understand how these things work or genuinely work, or?
Absolutely. I think that's an important question. So a partnership team is quite trained to understand the financial advice space really well. Some of them are ex-financial advisors. People are, are licensed financial advisors, etc. And others are people who have built fintechs and unicorns before, from the engineering side, who has accessed like Apple Pay level of technology and look at advice space and have fresh new ideas to kind of solve different problems. So we have a bunch of people coming from the financial advice space, but also like really good engineering and product background coming together to actually serve this space. But during the onboarding, we really ensure each and every person understands the space, but it's also a journey where, like you mentioned before, the solution architect or forward deployed engineering, that's how we build products as Satin. We go and sit with the advice firms, do their work, and then start to kind of like understand how to build things, and then we productize it later. So we have an amazing bunch of team to understand the problem deeply and then start to build solutions.
Interesting. Wow. The advice kind of like industry is not fragmented in any way really, but it's you've got kind of individual advisors, very kind of small firms, and then you've got like global like enterprise firms, right? That kind of hold like a bag of gold for, I guess, you guys, because there's so many clients that you could help, right? Because they've got tons of advisors. How do you see you guys kind of getting into all of those three kind of buckets, whether it's like an individual advisor who's working with 10 clients, a small firm who works with kind of 50 to 150 clients or whatever, and then these like enterprise, like big wealth management companies, say like a Fisher Investments or something. Where do you see you guys like falling into that, and how are you focusing on trying to get the most out of the clients that you are bringing on, the advisors that you're bringing in?
Absolutely. That's an important question. Our biggest focus is ensuring the advice gap problem, which is the amount of people that want advice and is not able to receive advice, and also the existing set of retail clients who want to receive more from advisors, not just investment advice or pension advice. They want to receive a CFO or a family office like service to the end clients. That is the problem. That gap exists at the moment.
Yeah.
And now you go back and look at the industry. Like you said, there are these large wealth management firms and the small IFA firms, but they have the same ethos to maintain the relationship and solve this problem with their end clients. We serve all of them, by the way, at the moment. We serve the largest wealth management companies in the UK to the smallest ones. And it's really hard to do it, but we have figured out a way to do it. And our problem with them is to figure out how to scale their existing service that currently exists to a lot more people, so that the cost right now, which exists, which is about £2,000 to serve one client a year just to maintain them, slashed by 90% in the next couple of years. And that's our singular goal along with the industry.
That's awesome. So you're going into these, like say an enterprise client who, their clients have to have a minimum of £250,000 or something. You can now like open their whole market up and completely change their like one side of their business that they might not even have been able to kind of contact you're going into these meetings saying like, hey, look, like we can open this out for you guys if you kind of allow us to work with your existing clients and then kind of build over, you know, the next 3-5 years with them and integrate yourself into that business.
Exactly that.
That's awesome.
The end client needs a CFO-like experience from that advisor. Advisors are relationship people, but the amount of time they spend, again, 70% of their time on admin and compliance, and very less time with clients. And this is what we are freeing up for them.
That's awesome. I think we're out of time.
We went a little bit over actually.
We're a little bit
That's
over.
fascinating.
I just want to mention the Apple Mac that you have behind you. Is this your office?
This is we do podcasts usually for our clients, and also video launches of products. Yeah, that's an actual Apple Mac that we found.
I love it. Yeah, we're launching our website next week, and by the way, to all your listeners, to all the listeners, but our website has that Mac like in the website, if that makes sense.
That's really cool.
But it's literally like a spitting image. It's going to be cool.
That's super excited to see that.
Yeah, we'll send you the link. But look, thank you so much, Amal, for coming on, and congrats on the raise. And yeah, look, we'll have you back on with product updates and stuff. Just feel free to ping us a message if you want to come on and shout about what you're doing. You're doing something really cool, and it's a massive problem to solve. And you guys look like you're at the frontier of it. So congrats.
Absolutely. You guys are doing something cool as well. This is what Europe needs. This is what UK needs. And thank you so much for doing it.
Appreciate it, Amal.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Have a good rest of your day.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye. Bye.
That Cybertruck thing's nearly said a swear word. Very cool.
Oh. Yeah, you can, if you just, I don't know, close the tabs, I guess. Should just work. Good stuff.
Ciao, buddy. Cheers. Yeah, so cool. Like, that is just a genius example of...
Do things that don't scale.
Yeah, just do what needs to be done. It's like, okay, we don't have a booth in the thing. We can't afford one. It's the day before, I assume. What do we do? Like, okay, let's drive the attendees, the people we want. All they want. We want time with attendees. We
figure
want,
out what you want.
10 minutes with attendees.
And figure out where they are and figure out what problem that you can solve is getting them back to...
I just love the taxi service, right? 'Cause
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
value
it's
for
clever.
them then.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
do you want to drive home in a Cybertruck?
Yeah. Oh,
By
yeah,
the
of
way, we
course.
might talk about something that is also super value to you
Yeah, yeah,
along the way.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
that cool? Yeah.
No, super clever. There's a
Love
story, I can't remember who it was. I want to say it's Sam Parr. It's either Sam Parr or someone like Jesse Itzler or something. I remember he was trying to sell, it was Jesse Itzler. So he used to own this company called NetJets, I believe it was. Essentially, he was selling...
He's a legend, Jesse.
Time in jets, and completely flipped the whole kind of private jet market on its head by basically selling like a card that you could have like 20 hours on a jet throughout a year or something, 150 hours or whatever. And this was like the beginning days, I think. And he went to a conference and he couldn't get in the conference because it was too expensive, I think. But he realized that every time a talk finished, there was a coffee shop outside the conference. And all of these people that he needed to get in contact with were going and buying a coffee and a muffin and smoking outside, right? So what he did was he bought up every single muffin in the coffee shop, and would go outside, and then all of them were like, "Oh shit! Like I don't have a muffin with my coffee," and like he would just wait and go, "Oh, I've got a spare. Would you like one?" "Oh, that's super nice. Like that's so nice." And then ended up talking. "Oh, I work for NetJets. I do this. It's like, "Oh, like I should speak to you. That's really cool." And it's like that kind of thing that gets you off the ground where. It doesn't scale. Like he can't do that all the time, and that's not how the business is going to get to 5, 10, 15 million in revenue. But it's the thing that kind of gets the ball rolling. And with these industries, especially like financial advice, PJs, all of that kind of stuff, like it is literally who you know. And if you do well for a client in, say, the financial advice, exactly what Amal was saying, like they have a network in there that you can just kind of like tap into.
You're just in.
And you're in. Yeah, once you're in the club, like you're in. And so I think that their combination of the hustle alongside that with the UX and the beautiful website, the fact that they're getting regulated, all of this kind of stuff, like kind of combines to creating an unbelievable experience for their customers. And ultimately that's like why, they're probably going to win. So congrats to them. I think it's cool.
Hell yeah, huge fan of that. Also huge fan of Jesse Itzler.
Jesse Itzler, yeah.
That book he has, Living with a Seal.
I've read it. It's insane.
So I've not read it, and I really want to read it. So
It's
if you do
perfect-
have it, please give it me.
Yeah, I have it. It's perfectly written, I would say.
So there's that bit in that, and you'll know this better than me because I've just heard it being discussed probably on My First Millions, I don't know, but where he's like David Goggins comes and lives with him for 3 months, right? The whole book's about that, but there's like moments where like his wife's there as well, like Jesse's wife's like living in the house as well.
Yeah, so he invites David Goggins, who wasn't actually David. He was David Goggins, but like he
wasn't like David Goggins.
So he didn't
Stay
want to be
Hard.
named in the book. So his name in the book is Seal, and it only got released that it was David Goggins. I want to say like a few years later. Maybe I'm making that up in my head, but his name is not in the book, but it was
No
David
way.
Goggins. Yeah, which is sick. So he invited him to his house for a month to live with him, and he was basically like to David, can you live with me for a month? And he was like, that's super weird, whatever. He did, and he lived the life, and he was up at 3 a.m.
Yeah,
running.
just putting him through it.
And the reason I say it's perfectly written is because Jesse Itzler isn't like the best writer in the world, and he's not like the most eloquent of speakers or writers. No offense to Jesse, but what he's really good at is telling a story, and he basically tells a story in a very like conversational way. So it's literally like having a conversation with Jesse. And I actually wrote a tweet about it maybe 2 years ago when I read the book. And Jesse replied and was like, "Oh, thank you so much."
No way.
Yeah, I was gassed.
Oh,
I was
that's
like,
sick.
Jesse's my boy.
Yeah.
But he just wrote it so well. I've never read a book like that where it's like, I can feel Jesse like talking to me in this.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So no,
like,
it's
style.
super cool book. Go and buy Living
buy
with a
it.
Seal by Jesse Itzler. Great book.
We've got Paddy
How the
coming
hell
in
did we get
literally
onto that? That's mad.
I forget how we got onto that, but we've got Paddy coming in 1 minute. Just before we do that, there is an amazing clip from when Jesse's on one of Joe Rogan's podcasts, and he's describing Goggins, and he's turning up for this like 4-legged ultra marathon, and like Jesse's there with like his boys, whatever, his 3 other boys, and they're all getting ready at the start on the line, and like he knows David at this point,
Yeah.
and he turns around and he's telling Joe Rogan, he's like, and I saw David, and he had no teammates. It's like, it's meant to be like a 4-legged ultra
Props to
marathon relay.
him. Props to him.
And the Goggins turned up with no teammates. He was the teammates.
Yeah, good on him. Just a quick word from our sponsors. Fora flexible office spaces, private offices, whole floors or dedicated desks. Fora offers workspace solutions for teams of all sizes at over 60 locations across London, the UK and Germany. Go to foraspace.com.
Let me tell you really quickly something about ACI.dev. It is the open source middleware to control, govern and observe AI access to your tools and your data.
Boom.
Anyhow,
Is Paddy in the show? Can you hear us? Amazing. Paddy, do you use Fora or ACI.dev at all? Are you in a
I
Fora
used
right now?
to. I was just going to say, yeah, I was in a Fora when I worked at Crowdcube before, and it was great, really great space actually.
let's go. Clip it, send it
So
to
yeah,
Fora.
strong recommend.
We absolutely
Yeah.
love it.
They're cool. How's it going on?
Yeah, good. I wish I'd got the memo. I should have dressed a bit smarter.
No. We're just we had a wardrobe change today. Traditionally, we are in our linen suits, but we thought
It's October.
it's getting colder. The leaves are turning orange, brown, falling off trees. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
thought we'd,
You guys look
change the vibe.
fresh.
You like them?
Yeah, you look great.
We've got the
Dude.
Paddy stamp of approval.
I take that seriously when
that's,
Paddy
that's big.
says they look
So
good.
Paddy, I put a tweet before you came out saying Paddy the Baddie is going to be in the arena tomorrow. And someone...
I like that guy.
Yeah, your alter ego.
You should have got him on instead. You'd have been better off with him on, I think.
Paddy the Baddie, I'm not sure if he would actually come on, to be fair.
I don't know if he knows too much about tech.
Just like punching people's faces.
Yeah, he might
in.
surprise you.
They
Yeah.
might, to be fair. We are judging a book by its cover here, and apparently you're not meant to do that. So let's not do that. Paddy, what is new in your world? Let's get into what's going on over there. Odin, everything. Give us a breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, bit of context for those who don't know. I mean, Odin's basically like Shopify for VC and PE, so we kind of let anyone, anywhere start and run their investment firm online. We've focused a lot historically on angel syndicates, now starting to do a lot more with more institutional customers, VC firms, PE firms, and also kind of like family offices or like multi-family offices, right? Merchant banks, that kind of thing. We're seeing a lot of interesting stuff. Like later stage, I think the pre-IPO market is really opening up. So because people can see IPOs on the horizon, we're seeing a lot of late stage SPVs into businesses that will IPO soon. Lots of secondary activity there as well. A lot of secondary trading of like the big AI companies as well, right? XAI, OpenAI, Anthropic, those sorts of things. And then earlier stage, lots of interesting stuff in multiple sectors. So yeah, really exciting times.
Yeah, that's cool. Let's deep dive on the secondaries market and kind of what's going on with the IPO market as well. There was talk maybe like a few months ago now probably, but it's they're basically arguing IPOs are dead and there's more secondaries happening and companies are staying private for longer. Obviously for a business like Odin, that's like pretty good, right? Because it means that more people are selling secondaries on your platform. What's your take? And you mentioned you're seeing more secondaries of later stage deals. Is there is that kind of increasing, or what's your take on the kind of whole IPO market, both globally?
I think there's a few interesting trends. It kind of ties into what I wanted to talk about, but you might have seen JP Morgan acquired a business called Industry Ventures, which is like the big player in VC secondaries.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously they see this trend. I think in secondaries, kind of outside the top names, right? There's maybe 10, 15, 20 names where there's quite a lot of liquidity and everyone wants to buy them. So Stripe, SpaceX, Anduril, these kinds of businesses. I think the kind of longer tail, you can split it into two buckets. One is they're happening kind of behind closed doors, these deals, and they're hard to get into, and they'll always kind of happen, access, that kind of thing. And then the other is like VCs are sitting on assets they kind of just like to get rid of. And they'd like to get some liquidity if they can, and get some cash back to LPs. On the point around the IPO market kind of not opening up and that kind of thing, yeah, I think it is starting to look like it will, but there's a lot of unpredictability there, right? Like a lot of the macro kind of depends on what Trump tweets, which is like a pretty volatile place to be. But I think there is opportunity. We've seen some big listings recently that have done well, right? Like Figma went from having to back out of that 20 billion acquisition, and then they IPO'd at around the 40 billion mark. I think Revolut will be coming up soon if we're looking at European companies. Klarna are talking about a listing. You've also got Kraken, in crypto. So there is activity there. And LPs really need that, right? So if you look at PE and VC, there's been a very long period with not very much liquidity. So institutional kind of investors in PE and VC firms are getting a bit tired of things, to be honest, and want some cash back out. DPI, as they call it in the industry, right? Distributions to paid in capital, like cash out, is pretty low versus earlier vintages. So they really need the liquidity. I think that's partly why you're also seeing people talking a lot about secondaries and VCs saying, oh yeah, there's such opportunity in secondaries. Like, you're obviously incentivized to say there's opportunity in secondaries if you need secondaries to happen, right?
It's like someone to grab
The other
bag,
thing you're
right?
seeing a lot is like, oh, democratization of VC and PE. I guess you can kind of see what we're doing as like part of that trend. I think you need to be careful in that market as well, because is that just a way for more sophisticated institutional LPs to dump their bags on someone else?
Yeah.
You know, and get out at a better price than the asset's worth. You know, part of the reason the IPO market is off is like the pricing is out of sync, right? So if you invested a shitload of money at a 2021 valuation, you're not going to list that business for anywhere near that money.
Yeah.
So you're gonna lose money overall, and people are kind of trying to delay those losses. So it's kind of a mixed bag, right? There's some opportunities, and then, you know, I think there's also some underlying structural issues.
There's also a trend on the secondaries point on giving liquidity to employees, right? I can't remember who it was, and I think I actually got ChatGPT to write a report about it because I'm a nerd. But the more and more companies are providing liquidity to their employees to then, you know, do kind of more stock buybacks and all of this kind of stuff. So it's an interesting space at the moment, but. Yeah, I think it's interesting to see where more companies are going and actually listing publicly, and which ones will kind of in the near future.
On the buyback stuff, like as an individual, so like I feel that we that live in this sort of like ex-Twitter tech niche, like innovation bubble or whatever, right? That we have the luxury of sometimes of seeing some companies that. Not saying that we are any of us like expert investors or we can beat the market. Like all my money just sits in a fund and I never look at it because I know that if I was trading daily, I would lose all my money because I suck at it. But we see these companies like Anduril, right? Like clearly going to do very well if they were to have to go into like a public market, right? I think they're staying private and they probably will for a while. But like I see these companies and I usually see them pretty early, and it's like you can usually tell by, you know, what type of like tech celebrities are backing them, or like what the product is, or how well the team executes. You can kind of see like, they're probably going to be worth more than they're worth today.
I agree.
And
I think if you can get into those, there's a great. Well, you can go through SPV. I mean, it's kind of tricky. It depends, right, on where the business is and what the regulation is. If you're going into a US company, you usually need to be an accredited investor, or sometimes something called a qualified purchaser, which is an even higher threshold. Accredited, the Trump regime are actually looking at introducing a new kind of ruling where you can take a quiz and qualify as accredited if you pass the quiz, basically, or pass the exam. They call it an exam. So I think that's kind of good, right? It's a bit more libertarian. It's a bit more like, it doesn't really matter how much you earn or, you know, what your kind of financial background is. If you understand the risks of what you're doing.
Isn't it? It's like
to some extent, you can also
accredited. Right?
Yeah. So high net worth, it's quite a low threshold in relative terms. You know, accredited in the US is like 200K USD annual income. Sophisticated in the UK is 100K GBP income. There's a few other criteria, but that's one of them. You can also qualify for, that's high net worth in the UK. You can qualify as sophisticated in the UK if you've invested in private companies in the past.
Yeah.
And that could include via like a crowdfunding platform, or you've been a member of an angel syndicate. So the UK in some ways is more accessible. I mean, going back to Ronan's point, I think they are good bets. I also think you're seeing this interesting trend where like Robinhood and a lot of crypto companies are trying to do like tokenization of those businesses.
Yeah.
And I actually think if those businesses listed or public, they would probably jump in valuation, right? Like the kind of top 10, 15, because of the kind of Wall Street bets, you know, meme stock investing trend. I can see those companies jumping. So if you can get in on SPV, there's a really interesting arbitrage opportunity as well, right? Where you can buy equity in those businesses, and I think you could sell it on quickly at a profit, probably. And even if they don't list, big listed businesses like Robinhood are going to try and give retail access to those assets. So it's possibly going to happen anyway. I think the risk with the SPVs is obviously how many layers of SPVs are you going through? You're often seeing this thing where it's like, you know, someone's on the cap table, they're doing an SPV, but you're getting access through a buyer of that SPV or something like that. And there's multiple layers of fees and carry in the middle. and you need to factor that in. And also, you're adding layers of risk there of like a bad actor, you know, doing something untoward with the cash they're raising, which obviously, you know, the administrators and the people themselves who are doing these things, you know, should be handling compliance properly, and that shouldn't be happening. But, you know, layers just adds to that risk.
Yeah, I feel like
so
if I'm
that
in
needs to be a
back
factor in the
channel
math.
somewhere, then you know there's always going to be more risk, right? Like that's I guess part of the bet. What the Robinhood thing was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. We covered this a while back. Just like I was just speaking with friends around it, but when I saw that they were launching that tokenized assets, the launch video was incredible. It was like something out of the Hunger Games. Like the backdrop was this immaculate, you know, in like the rich district, you know. But the backdrop was like this immaculate like white sands. You know, with a nice like sort of green, it looked like AstroTurf, it was so green, and like the founder of Robinhood is there in this like really extravagant outfit, demoing this new like tokenized private company tokenized shares that, and I think it was OpenAI, and I can't remember if it was Anduril, maybe it was Anduril, I can't remember, maybe it was another defense tech company, I can't remember, but they launched it. They were like, here are OpenAI and like Anduril tokens, and then OpenAI came out and they saw the announcement and were like, hey, like we aren't cool with this. And then someone was
right.
like,
I mean,
it
that's the
doesn't
other
matter.
thing. That's the other thing. It's like, okay, what are you buying, right? Is it like some sort of derivative, or is it like actual equivalent? You know, is it tokenized equity, right? Like a security token. And then also, are you in breach of like contracts that exist in investment agreements, right? So one of the things with secondaries is founders aren't always that keen on secondaries happening, and there's a reason they stay private. That's because you want to control price. If you're trying to raise primaries, right, so like additional growth capital, I don't know, like say 100 million valuation, and someone's trying to trade secondaries at a 50 million valuation at the same time, that pushes the price of your primary round down, right? It works against you. So they might have things in their investment agreements that say things like you can't trade secondaries of the company without our permission, without sign off of the board, or like, you know, however that works. So you need to be careful that you're not breaching that. Obviously, if you're going in via an SPV, you can potentially trade secondaries of the SPV, right? And you're potentially not breaching the initial investment agreement, but it's possible you are. So I think there's work to do on how all that functions. I think the tokenization thing's really interesting. You know, the Trump administration again has been like very pro crypto, and I think they benefit from tokenization in a number of ways, right? It's on the asset side, but then also on like the cash side, right? It allows you to continue to push dollar dominance because people can use USDC abroad for transactions. We've actually seen some interesting businesses in that space using USDC and kind of stablecoin rails for things like remittances. You know, so competing with the likes of Wise and Revolut, but using like DeFi rails for that, or crypto rails for that instead of traditional finance rails.
Yeah, that's getting more of a spotlight in Europe. I think like a lot of DeFi platforms coming out, meaning this like FX charges and all of that kind of stuff are essentially wiped out, right? Is that how it works? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they're much lower, right? You got to pay your gas or whatever, but I don't really understand it, right? But there's ways of doing it on like a side chain or whatever, so you can make it even cheaper. Obviously it's new. I think that will take like 10, 15 years to kind of like integrate,
Yeah, I agree.
probably minimum, with the existing financial system. But I think, the Americans are behind on like manufacturing, and it looks like China's going to dominate more and more in that. So they need to stay ahead on services and finance, right? It's kind of the same thing that the British Empire did post World War II, right? We tried to make ourselves this financial and services hub, and I think the Americans are going to follow the same path. A good writer to follow on this stuff is a guy called Nicolas Collin, French guy. He writes, it used to be called European Straits. It's called Drift Signal now, but he writes a lot about this kind of macro stuff. That's quite interesting.
Cool. Let's jump more into Odin quickly, and like where you guys see kind of the opportunity and what you're looking at for like the future, like 2026. Are you guys what are you focusing on there, and where do you see the opportunities and the potential like risks to do with like everything we've kind of just talked about?
I'm quite excited about this kind of like how software can eat more of the services side of things. If you look at where Odin plays, we're kind of like a hybrid of a software and a services company, right? We play in like SPVs, fund administration. It's very difficult to fully automate that with software, but I think it becomes increasingly possible to automate that fully with software with LLMs. And I think you're seeing that trend, generally. I think AI roll-ups are kind of a bet on that trend, right? So it's like you back a software company, they buy traditional services businesses. Thrive Capital have made a lot of investments in that kind of sector. General Catalyst, actually a business who've raised money on Odin called Dwelly do this in property management. So they kind of buy existing like lettings agents and then apply software and AI. So we see that for our business as very applicable. It's kind of like, how do you offer the same service that's traditionally been offered by humans, like much faster and much more efficiently with software and with the help of LLMs. We also want to look outside of the UK, which is where we're focused at the moment. So we've got geo expansion on the near term horizon, and then we want to push harder into fund administration alongside SPVs, which has been our bread and butter historically.
Awesome. The AI, like sort of AIP VC roll up type thing seems to be getting like a load of attention recently. I first heard it like maybe like a year ago, and I didn't hear it too much. But then like the last 5 months, I've been hearing it a lot. How does one setting up a business to do that? Is that they raise cash, and then with that cash, they are literally just buying old industrial type-esque businesses.
Yeah.
You cut the FTEs in half, you fire 75% of the staff, put
Yeah.
AI all over it, package
I mean,
it
you
up.
guys should get Ilya or Dan from Dwelly on to talk about how they
that'd be
do
cool.
this.
Yeah.
There's a guy on Instagram that does it. He I can't remember what he's called, but he's basically like buying like boring businesses, right? And it's a massive trend like going on. And you can do this like as
There's
a
some guys
single
doing
like, solo guy or girl.
Yeah. There's some. There's that as well, right? Which is kind of adjacent, which is like entrepreneurship by acquisition. I think you're seeing a lot of that. That's a big trend in the US, especially because you can borrow money from the state for your acquisition at very low rates. They've got this kind of loan structure for entrepreneurs. I think it's kind of a broader trend as well of like the kind of private equitization of software investing. I said private equitization of VC, but VC is kind of shorthand for software investing in a way, rightly or wrongly, at the moment. I think it's not surprising. You always get like a venture phase of any technology where capital is backing experimentation and risk, and then you get like a consolidation phase where it focuses on optimizing experiments and turning them into like efficient cash generating machines. And I think that's what you're seeing with software companies as well. So there's a lot of overcapitalized software companies that I think you're going to see be acquired and made more efficient. That's the model that like Tiny Capital have followed. That's what Bending Spoons do. Bending Spoons have a really interesting model where they like rip out the entire software engineering team and they centralize the software engineering team, and they buy kind of like quite late stage software businesses, right? So they bought like Evernote, Meetup, WeTransfer, Vimeo, right? They're businesses that have been around for a long time, are kind of stagnant. And what you're trying to do is more like optimize that company and focus on customer experience and customer success more than like grow that company. So it requires a different kind of approach and a different discipline. And I think we're seeing that in software generally. I think software is very well understood. You're also seeing more lending in software, which is part of the same trend, right? That was bigger a few years ago. It's kind of tailed off a bit because interest rates have gone up, but it's kind of part of the same thing, right? You don't need equity capital so much when things like ARR in software and recurring revenue are well understood. People are willing to lend against that as an asset rather than just investing equity. So I think that's part of like the kind of maturation of software. And I think, my view is the returns in VC will start to go elsewhere, and they're places people maybe aren't like looking so much at the moment. I think what AI rollups are is kind of like more like a PE play.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like, buy all the old businesses, fire 90% of the staff, drop some AI in, increase the margins, There you go. Boom.
Yeah, and all that's easily said. You know,
Yeah, I just did one just now. I just did my own.
it sounds good, right? It's a good narrative.
Sounds
you can pitch
sexy,
it to a
but
VC
is
and they're
it
like,
actually-
yes, I'm in. Right? Is it? You know, I think the value of a lot of services businesses is the relationships and is the people, and the customers like interacting with people. We ran an experiment for a couple of days where we had a bot, not as well trained as it should have been, replying on email, and everyone was like, turn this fucking bot off. I hate it, right? Even when it was getting answers right quite often, because it has to get answers right, like it has to get the answers as good as a human will, and that's actually quite a high bar for like technical services. You have to, it's you know, I think it might be more like you get 20-30% gains incrementally out of those businesses than like you double the return. And remember, PE firms have been buying those businesses for years and figuring out how to optimize them. So it's not like there's not a playbook and like real expertise on how to do that. So it's, you know, it's a bit naive to think you can walk in and do it twice as well.
Yeah, but that's why I was confused, because like in my mind it's like, oh, this isn't new. This is already. It's just like we're just using AI now. So,
yeah. I think it will. People will do it well, but people will do it badly as well, right? It's the same time. Anytime there's a load of hype, a load of cash goes toward it, and then a few people do well, and a lot of people don't do well.
Yeah.
Survivorship bias.
I just have to. We are over, but I have to ask just quickly, Paddy, the LinkedIn game recently saw
And the X game.
4,000 plus likes. And there was that thing from the SF, and there was like that performative post where it's like, quite literally, I am working whilst I'm sleeping. I'm working with my eyes closed whilst I'm asleep. And there was a comment like, you know, do you people ever shut the, we don't swear on the show, F up. But yeah, 4,300 likes on LinkedIn, those numbers.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't swear in real life as well.
Okay.
I never swear.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of like, I think there's alpha in like seeing stuff on Twitter and just reposting on LinkedIn, because those audiences don't mix very much.
Serious arbitrage right there, yeah.
Like I think your caption for that post is like lol the comment. And it's like 4,000 likes.
So it's just like it wasn't deep, was it? Yeah, I mean, I've not posted much on social for like a year because we had to like completely restructure our business like 12 months ago, and being very focused on kind of internal operations, product stuff like that, and kind of we've hired, you know, some great people, and kind of coming out of that a little bit, you know, leaner, better, faster, stronger. So trying to look more at growth. So yeah, trying to do a bit of shit posting, which I think is fun. LinkedIn needs less serious content as well. Like everyone's 100%. So fucking, excuse my French, everyone's so boring and kind of like, you know, that's why X is great, right? Like I think people's takes are like more fun. They're able to be themselves a bit more. And I think most people want to do that. Everyone likes that. Is it Ken Chong? Is that his name?
Yeah.
The guy who just shit posts on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
He's great.
He does cameos. You know, you can buy a cameo. It's like $15, and he'll send you like a message.
Oh, nice. Yeah, nice.
You also had a good
That's
take
what we
on.
were talking about the other day.
You also had a good take on Waymo, and you quote tweeted Waymo coming to London. You're like, hilarious that we're literally going to have self-driving cars in London, but before they managed to automate the tube. Which I thought was
I'd never thought of that.
A great take. And then someone commented and was like, "Oh, the tube is automated. The drivers only operate the doors." And then you commented back and said they should be called door operators and paid minimum wage. Then
they're paid like 70 grand, aren't they?
I mean, look, I think there's a fairly bipartisan concept. I said in that thread, right? I don't think it matters if you vote Labour or Tory or whatever, right? Like, I think most people think tube drivers shouldn't be paid as much as they are. They get paid a lot more than like doctors, nurses, teachers for a job that is fundamentally easier, and it's because their union has more leverage as a negotiator, right? I think the other people you guys should get on the show is someone from like Stripe Progress, or from the Centre for British Progress, or from Looking for Growth, like one of those organizations. I think there's a lot of room for innovation in politics and policy at the moment, and we need fresh ideas and young people going into politics, and you know, so much of our stagnation in the West is about bureaucracy and things that are fundamentally like very changeable very quickly. And I think that's what will stop us from, you know, kind of succeeding economically more than anything, right? It's really boring stuff like planning permission that just needs reform. But yeah, I think there's tons of opportunity in that space.
Yeah, I agree. Well, look, we've seriously gone over time, but look, thank you so much, Paddy, for coming on and talking to
That's
us
our
about
longest
some
interview
stuff.
yet on the show.
Yeah.
6 minutes over, but we loved every second of it, Paddy. You
Yeah,
have to come back on.
sorry,
No.
I've been a bit verbose.
It's what the show's for.
All right,
Good stuff.
thanks everyone for listening to me ramble, and yeah, nice to see you guys.
A1 Yapper.
See you
Good
later,
stuff.
man.
See you later.
Have a good one.
Cheers.
Ciao.
So,
Beast
Always
mode.
good to chat. I've just seen this is a completely changing topic. I've just seen the new NASCAR merch.
Oh yeah.
And
Wow.
sponsored by Anduril.
Very left field. Oh really?
Yeah.
Anduril have sponsored.
Unbelievable.
Can I have a-
We're-
can I
so
have a- can you
Anduril
send it?
Industries, they've just put a tweet out. How long ago was that? It was actually yesterday, which is quite funny. They were like, if we're going to race the base, we'll need the right driver. With a new multi-year partnership, we joined 14-time NASCAR Cup Series champion Team Hendrick as a primary sponsor of its number 24 Chevrolet team with 2 Daytona 500 winner William Byron. And they've got some sick merch. Like,
Yeah, it's
know,
hard.
They win.
Seriously hard.
Congrats
Seriously hard
to the guys building over there. Jeff Miller is the VP of marketing at Anduril, and he's killing it. Like, seriously cool stuff.
Well, like Palmer is obviously.
And obviously, everyone saw their out-of-home ad, Superpowers for Superheroes. You know,
that was cool.
that was sick. Yeah, that was
Like
very
Palmer is like, he has a background of like, what's the like cosplay dressing?
Yeah.
Like old anime stuff, like old like war stuff, old like superhero stuff. He got super into comics, super into anime, super
Yeah,
into
he
like.
still is.
Still is, and you see a lot of that, like transgress into the designs and like the type and the feel of the stuff they're doing over there.
Yeah.
at
No,
Anduril.
there's such a delta between companies who have a founder who is very good at marketing and a founder that hasn't really quite got it. And there's a style that is innate that you kind of got to have it or you don't. And I don't know how easily it can be learned, but like an example would be the Klarna founder. Like, who were we talking about? Klarna.
Andreas Helbig.
Andreas Helbig, and we were saying, you know, he is an embodiment of the brand.
Yeah.
And he kind of lives that brand, and the brand is coming out of him, right? And so, can other founders do that can't necessarily, you know, live that and aren't really that type of person? Probably not, right? And so these companies like an Anduril that is wildly different to a Klarna, obviously, but you know, in terms of a branding sense, you can just tell that they get it, right?
Yeah,
they just get
and
it.
it can be a really powerful thing, right?
Yeah,
like
so powerful. It's a
good. It's a great comparative advantage to win.
Exactly. Just a word from our sponsors, SeaPoint. Get back control of your finances with SeaPoint, your startup's financial home. SeaPoint is a business account that handles invoice payments, expenses, payroll, and reporting. Go to seapoint.co to go and have a look if you're an SME in the UK, especially probably Europe as well. Jack and Jill, don't miss the unmissable jobs at the hottest companies. Jack and Jill will listen to what you want and search thousands of new jobs every hour to find job opportunities worth seeing. Go to jackandjill.ai and just spell AND, not the word. So
Also
not
did
the
a really
symbol.
big seed round recently, 20 mil seed round, Jack and Jill. So they are putting the pedal to the metal, deploying that juicy cash,
Yes, go.
making that product
Big
pop
stuff.
even
Okay,
more.
so jumping in, next guest, we have Jack Wang. He is in the studio now.
We
Jack,
have
can you hear
Jack
us?
live.
I am in now. Hey guys.
Jack, how's it
perfectly.
going?
I'm alright, mate. How you guys going? Big news today on a few different things.
Yeah, we were
Good to
checking
hear.
some stuff out. What did we have out today? We had Clara Gold announced that Clara Gold has broken up with France. She's moved to SF. Keen to cover that actually later. We haven't mentioned that yet. We had Wonder Studios doing their seed round, which broke earlier today. And yeah, a couple of great guests so far. But
And do you have news?
what news do you have for us, Jack?
No, I don't have anything. I just saw the letter that Thomas wrote.
I thought that's what you were referring to.
Jack's
You
here
had
to hang.
news to come and announce on the show.
No, I just love you guys so much. I've been following you guys for a while, so
Jack, the love
it's
is
actually an honor to be here.
the love is reciprocated, and we're pumped to hang today. We're pumped to chat.
I want to chat defence, and I know you
Yeah.
put a LinkedIn post about it. I'm a bit of a noob on defence, but I want to learn more from you. You're probably one of the best people to speak about this kind of stuff. So, general question to put it out there and get the conversation started, like what's new? What are you guys looking at Project A? And yeah, what can you tell us that,
Maybe it
that's
makes
interesting?
sense for our viewers to maybe get an intro from Jack
Yes,
first,
please
because
do that
obviously
as
we
well.
know who Jack is, but our
Yeah, my
viewers do
bad.
not. So
Good job.
all good. Jack,
No,
please
sounds
go.
good. So I'm a partner that leads most of our deep tech and defense tech investing at Project A. Project A is actually, despite the topic of today's conversation, a generalist VC fund. So we've been around for about 12 years, 1.3 billion under management, about 8 funds across the platform. Headquartered in Berlin, but half our investment team is actually in London now. And we back founders of pre-seed and seed for the most part, and occasionally also Series A. So we have a very successful track record of companies like Trade Republic, for example, with a Series A lead investors in them. Sender, Spryker, also a couple of UK companies like World Remit back in the day. And more recently, Quantum Systems. When I say recently, Quantum Systems in 2022. So we started investing in the defense tech space before the current, let's say, attention to this market. But it was just after the Russian-Ukraine war started. So we have backed Quantum Systems in 2022 at a Series A. We co-led that round with Peter Thiel. And then we made another, actually 8 investments, including Staff, that was just publicly announced recently, over the last 2.5 years. So we've been at this space more than, I think, most other VCs, and we learned a lot of things from the last 2.5 years that I'm happy to share, and of course, answer any questions.
Yeah, 100%. Well, look, one thing I really want to touch on, and we were speaking about it a lot in the last show, is the Bessemer partner saying that there's no limit on the European defence investment that they're making, and you've got all these kind of firms, General Catalyst and other huge names investing a lot into Euro defence. I think it's up to 3.5 billion from already this year, whereas 2024 was 1.8 billion. So what's your kind of take on the excitement and I guess the competition that comes with that in the defence market in Europe?
Yeah, so the space is definitely moving very fast. I think more recently though, over the last year, because of the billion-dollar outcomes, you see Helsing in the media quite a lot, you see Techaver in the media quite a lot, of course you see Quantum Systems in the media quite a lot, not to mention some of the slightly adjacent players like ICEYE, right, being all multi-billion-dollar valuations. Suddenly, because of their media presence and, to be fair, the relatively increase in military budgets across Europe, every VC is now looking at this space. The US was ahead of this for about a year or so. And I think most European investors today, VC investors, are looking at some kind of defense tech. Whether it's a first check, whether it's a second, or whatever it may be, everyone's looking at it. A lot of that is coming from actually LP, not directives, but LP questions as well, right? As you guys know, fundraising in today's environment is not the easiest for VC funds. Liquidity is hard to come by. There is the AI hype that is also driving up a lot of valuations. So the overall global economy is very polarizing. But if you're an LP and you read that there's a new category of technology with billion-dollar outcomes that no one's ever looked at before, you will start asking questions of your GPs whether they're actually looking at defense tech. And because of that dynamic, at least I think so, suddenly you have a lot of interesting new funds entering into the space. Some doing very well, some are new to this. This is a polarization. And that's kind of where the market is today. And I'll say there is general VC hype cycles, yes, of course, but this is probably one of the categories where it is very closely aligned to macro defense budgets of European MODs. And those budgets usually do not operate on hype cycles, quite the opposite. They tend to stay for a 10-year period or longer.
Yeah, so I'd love to get your take on this, because I spoke with someone, this was a few months ago when I guess not when the hype really started, but like I think more companies were leaning into, well, defense companies were suddenly welcoming people like journalists in to do interviews with their senior leaders. They were putting out kind of marketing type videos, like Helsing are now doing launch videos for new manufacture, like new, I'm not specifically sure if it's like a weaponized system or some sort of like delivery type thing, but they're leaning into more, I guess you can call it advertising in a way. It was around 4 or 5 months ago when this started happening, and I was speaking with a defense investor who I was asking them, is this cyclical? Is this just long war, right? What happens when war stops? Does the music stop with it? And the rebuttal to that was like, well, essentially no, because European countries are now sort of waking up to the fact that they probably should be setting aside a certain percentage of their GDP on a defense budget, and that will stay fixed for a number amount of years, or it'll be over a period of 10 years. It won't be like this much every year. It's like this much across the next 5, 10, 15, whatever it is. So is that, is again, like getting your thoughts on this, like, is that something that can prop up this, not the hype, but the initial hype of what's coming in, the obvious fall off when this eventually happens, because it happens in every single hype cycle, but is that like a landing cushion there to make sure that we stick with this and we keep innovating?
That is a good question. I think that is the question, right? And there's sort of two answers to this. If you're a fund manager, if you're a VC investor, for us, our fund cycles are 10 years. So we can afford to sort of wait out any hype cycles or whatnot, but the rough defense budget as a trend over 10 years is and will be increasing, especially in Europe. Now, if you're a founder, however, that is a slightly different question. Because today, and we talk to a lot of defense tech startups, almost everybody in the market, a good amount of the founders and the startups rely heavily on Ukraine revenue or Ukraine-centric revenue. It might not be directly from the Ukraine MOD, but definitely some reliance of that in some capacity through aid packages and whatever not, right? So you could argue that if, and hopefully the war does end in Ukraine, do they suddenly stop purchasing? Do they stockpile a little bit, but less than before, or whatever not? So there is an acute effect of that, maybe over a period of 1 to 2 years. But that revenue stream, if you have a huge concentration of which to Ukraine, will get affected. Now, the race, what that means is that today, because of the increasing MOD, like wider European MOD budget spending, there is a race of effectively of time to diversify your revenue streams as a founder. And that is something that I think most founders who look at their customer mix today should consider very heavily as where else can we get revenue from? But there's a lot of MODs today. We've never seen the procurement cycle so fast for the wider, broader European MODs. So there is that opportunity.
Yeah. I want to ask. I know you're on the board of QS. I want to know. So they just expanded into the UK, set up the company in the UK and stuff. Is that the response to this kind of like diversifying revenue, or like what does it actually look like? Why have they actually done that on like a high level?
Yeah, candidly, yes. And candidly, all of our companies, all of our more mature companies, Stark, Arx Robotics as well, all have a UK office now.
Yeah. And
UK wasn't the first country they expanded to. For example, the biggest customer, Quantum Systems, is actually Australia, of all places, which I'm very proud of because I'm Australian. But this expansion has happened for some of the more mature companies over the last 2-3 years already. It's the ones that are starting today that are raising a seed round or Series A round that has very impressive revenue numbers, with a huge concentration of Ukraine. Those folks should be racing to diversify. If you've been if your company's sort of been setting this for the last 2 and something years, yes, UK is a natural expansion market because of the lack of, I think, technical new generation drone capabilities as a whole. But so is most other countries.
Interesting. Interesting. I think that something that a lot of people seem to be quite worried about is with this increase of cash flows into this sort of small closed system here, it will attract people as well. It's not just like the people that have been building in the space now are finally getting the cash that they need to drive things forward. It's also a pull factor from other adjacent industries for founders who maybe won't have experience in this field to say like, well, you know, that's a pretty lucrative space to go build in. Why don't we go over there and build it? And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think we were speaking to the other day that stat about how it was actually Paddy, I think, Patrick Ryan, who we just had on. There's like a crazy sort of percentage of like the most unicorns are from non-native industry founders. They've come into this space without experience in that industry and they've gone on to create a unicorn company. Yeah. That's a great thing. I think that's amazing. But is that something that we should have in the defense space? You know, because like it probably does attract a few bad actors, like anything would when there's cash there, right? But could you say the same thing? Is defense
for sure.
into that, right?
Yeah, do you want bad actors in defense knowing the implications?
It's defense is a very different industry, right? So, for example, I always give this example when let's say Slush is in a couple weeks. When we all go to Slush, we walk around, and every startup we talk to, for the most part, not all of them, but 90-something% of them, are backed by venture capital, right? And the founders you speak there will be, I raised from so and so and so, a great fund, I'm sure. I'm building this and that and that, right? That is normal to us in the tech ecosystem. That's day to day. When you go to the biggest defense tech conference in Europe, which is the SEI, and it happened a couple weeks ago actually, you walk around and it's a big venue. It's the Excel Stadium. The whole thing's filled up with airplanes and tanks and everything else. You walk around and you realize that only a very small fraction of the companies exhibiting are VC backed. About maybe 5%. Names that we heard of in defense tech are VC backed, but everybody else there are either large incumbent primes or some are PE backed, or some are just very big, successful private companies. And they're all making drones as well, of course. They're all making whatever technology it is. Some of them are venture scale, some of them are not. So the overlap of a category that is VC backable versus a gap in the market versus the right founders. Like if you look at that Venn diagram, the overlap as a percentage is actually very, very small comparatively to when we go to Slush and we look at all the tech companies being built, right? So yes, there will be venture capital dollars in defense tech, but it's unlikely that, there's some winners in the early stages, like some of our companies, even some competitors, but in the grand scheme of things, it's such a small drop in the ocean still. But I'll say that the dollars, both from an MOD perspective and a VC perspective, is attracting new founders to defense tech more than ever before, and talented ones at that. So I think my personal opinion is that the net positive of that offsets whatever potential bad actors or the negative of which. And I always say, this sounds a bit strange, but no amount of VC blogging is going to suddenly make European MOD procurement suddenly faster, right? This is not going to happen. We like to read our blogs and write our blogs, but this is not going to happen, right? But like most of the PR is actually done at the defense industry level.
Yeah. Okay. So it's pretty niche. I mean, look, talking about talent and niche talent and the talent in Europe, we had Andreas Klinger on the first show last week, and he was saying, and we've talked about this a lot, the kind of concentration of these very small groups of people who are building like incredible things dotted around Europe, and it's kind of semi-similar in terms of the expertise that are coming out of Europe and where we're world class, and how the argument of how Europe kind of fits into the kind of future of AI and building. And people are saying that we're kind of world class in like precision engineering and precision manufacturing. Where do you see like us as a Europe kind of collective finding our niche in the kind of future of like AI and defense? Obviously like we're world class in airspace defense companies. Where else do you see us kind of accelerating like the frontier of defense like globally?
Absolutely. So I think for Europe, there's many core capabilities, the most of which is generally a very high quality of hardware and software skills. So if you look at all of our companies, most of them are a blend of a hardware component and then overlaying the latest software computer vision technology on top of that, right? So the talent pool is definitely there in Europe. And then secondly to that, I think the production capability of which, speaking from a German fund background, that is hard to come by because every country over the last decades outsourced a lot of their production to overseas, to cheaper labor countries. To suddenly bring those labor forces or those expertise onshore, you're not going to do that with a country that is high in talent, expertise, but low in production, like, for example, Singapore, right? But someone like Germany, for example, or even the UK can do that because there has been a history of successful production talent, production expertise over the last many decades. So those two things added together is super, super relevant in the defense industry. And then lastly, and it's going to sound a bit strange for me to say this, the fact that it's made in Europe makes the biggest difference in defense industry more than anywhere else. That in itself is a procurement advantage for most European MODs. Even if everything else being equal, 1-to-1, the fact that you're made in Europe with European components, with a very near European supply chain, it's going to have everything, will have enough. That is an advantage.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Would we were talking about it's slightly left field, slightly off topic, but it's essentially like the fact that we're seeing a lot more GTM/marketing-y type plays from these companies, as I just mentioned earlier with Helsing and whatnot, but particularly Anduril and Palmer Luckey, obviously running the show there with I think two other guys, comes from a background of this sort of I think he loves like anime, cartoons, this type of stuff, and it's a big part of his life. He's been very open about that growing up, and you see his personality seep into whether it's the products, whether it's the merch, whether it's like the branding, whether it's the out of office campaign that they did that was insane. It's like that don't work at Anduril type thing that went viral. It was really cool. But like they're adding this like performative, really cool piece. But they're adding this like performative, sort of like direct to consumer strategy in a weird way for these, some of the time it's like they're launching like new missiles, whatever. But it's an anime short form clip that's like maybe 40 seconds long. And don't get me wrong, the video is great. Like I really enjoyed watching the video, but I'm trying to work out why. I guess there are obviously branding reasons around it, and now I'm talking about it, which is one. But like, why do you think this is becoming a thing? Because like, it's not just in the US now. As I said earlier, like Helsing are letting sifted reporters into their offices. They're sitting down with them and they're breaking bread and they're having tea. They didn't do this before. They were very private. They're very much like closed doors. It's only the last year and a half that we're actually seeing companies in the defense space open their doors up, say, you know what, come in here and take a look under the hood. We're actually not bad people. And I'm just curious why that's happening now.
Yeah, I think the court of public opinion is something that is usually underestimated. If you look at every single old prime defense company out there, even the European ones, BAE Systems, Rheinmetall, so forth, there isn't that much mainstream media PR, right? That's the key difference. Even the US with Lockheed Martin or whatever not, it simply just doesn't happen. I think Anduril, to my knowledge, was actually probably the first one to go to exactly what you said, like mass media, to create this. I think partially from my understanding is that at least in the US, and this is not the same in Europe, at least in the US, the court of public opinions matters significantly, especially in today's America where everything is extremely polarizing, right? That there is live feedback from your voting members of Congress or wherever it is to then effectively potentially procurement committees of whatever. Like that pathway is a lot more clearer in the US than if you were to adapt the same strategy for Europe. One, Europe is fragmented. Two, the natural the political polarization is very different from country to country, though there is, of course, themes. And I think a lot of the European media presence, for example, and this is interesting because like the fact that the three of us are talking about defense tech on a tech live stream of a tech industry is rare, right? It used to be people only care about the defense publications or the Financial Times and defense section. To make the jump from a defense industry into a tech industry, that's just rare in the first place. And that's only just happening in Europe. Sure, a lot of that is because of talent. A lot of that is because the venture capital funds look at this tech side a lot more than they would the defense side. All of those plays a role, but just from a rough court of public opinions perspective, Europeans version of that is a lot not weaker, but less influential than the US.
Yeah.
But I think overall we'll see that happening a lot more in Europe over the next 2 or 3 years, especially with some of the neo primes emerging.
Yeah. Do you think just probably last question because I think we've run out of time, but obviously you said it's going to happen more often, and do you think there's going to be more companies like an Anduril, European companies like an Anduril, where their marketing is a huge part of their of their company kind of hiring and I guess winning contracts? I don't really know. I mean, I just went on to Quantum Systems website, and it has on the top on like the banner on the top, it literally has like a their ad in one of the squares in London. And like I didn't realize that they had an ad there, and I feel like that's like, as you said, defense and tech, like that was never really a thing, and that was never really a combination. But now it's becoming like less taboo and more talked about, probably because of the war in Ukraine. So do you think there's going to be just more players playing like Anduril are, and how?
Absolutely so. Especially the Quantum Systems advertising at Piccadilly is a great example. You have a screenshot of that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Things like that will happen more often, I think, with most of the new age defense tech companies.
Yeah.
One is talent, one of is branding. Most of it, I think, is actually just them trying to differentiate against the old generation of primes who would never ever do this, or rarely would do this, dare I say. I think that helps from a just public perception point of view across wider Europe.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be like super interesting to see how it plays out over the next like year or two, with these companies kind of popping out with new marketing strategies, even though they might have been around for kind of the 5, 10, 15 years prior. So yeah, super interesting. But look, we've run out of time. Thank you so much for coming on. And yeah, you should come on and talk more defense stuff in the future, because I think it's really interesting.
Whenever you guys want to, something that happens in the defense tech industry, if you want me to comment, happy to.
Yeah,
Whenever
that'd be
you want.
amazing.
Good stuff. Thank you so much, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
All right, take
Bye.
care. Bye.
So cool. So nice to get like a full-blown expert take.
Yeah.
we should have Jack in more often to just comment on. I mean, as things start to heat up, right? He mentioned UA, I think is how you pronounce it, like UWE. One of the seniors at Project A. Obviously, we saw the article in Sifted recently. He's actually gone over to Stark and is still playing a role on the investment team as well. But he's now like, I think it was the CEO of Stark. So it's like, how much time can he? Obviously, I guess it's from investment. It can maybe pass on that adversary information on what deals they're looking at in defence. But
Yeah, super cool.
definitely plugged in.
Interesting. I think we should touch on OpenAI's launch of Atlas, the web browser.
Yeah. So this I like it. Don't get me wrong.
Wait, Atlas? You like? Yeah.
Well, I haven't used it, but I have used it because they did Operator,
Yeah.
and then they did GPT Agent, and then they've just done Atlas, and there's loads of headlines. They're all the same thing. It's an AI browser from ChatGPT. They've just launched it 3 times, which, again, huge fan of. Launch. You should always be launching. People think you can do one launch. As we know, can't.
Rubbish. We are
But
bullish on
also
launches.
you can launch the same product millions of times. Like, you can launch it in an infinite amount of time.
Oh, really?
just
So
until
it's
it works.
genuinely just like
It's the same product. There's obviously been like improvements. There will be some like.
So it's just a product update with a different name.
They've just made it, but yeah, they've made the agent better, right? But like, I'm saying this from a position where I've come from a browser.
Yeah. Well, that's why I wanted to kind of touch on it.
Like a browser agent company. And look, when OpenAI first released Operator, like I've told you the story many times. It was Thursday. Our launch was meant to be in 2 months, and our head of product pinged me and was like, "Hey, have you seen the news?" I'm in the pub with a few of the boys, and yeah, I'm just like, what news? He's just like, to check on X, and you'll know on OpenX, and see OpenAI have released Operator. It's a browser-based agent. It's exactly what we were building. So that moment where it's like someone's like, "Oh, what if Google just like released a feature and just kill your startup?" Or that's basically what happened.
Yeah.
And we brought the launch forward from 2 months ahead, to that Monday. So literally, it was Thursday night, launching on Monday. It was meant to do 2 months, and we planned it out for 2 months. So we're now compressing 2 months worth of work into
a few days.
In a few days, and it was like by far and behold like the most stressful, intense 3 days of my life, like without a doubt. Like we were sleeping in the office. We were, you know, like everyone was just like burnt out after it, and it was mad. And it was a great experience, and it worked. The launch went really well. We kind of positioned it when a way it was like Europe's answer to Operator. It's 1/10 of the cost, and it's also globally available. Because like Operator at the time was $200 a month and only available in the US, but we could just get a VPN and like get onto it, and then like we could run like side comparisons. And our agent was better than theirs on a few like times tests. It's specifically on the tests that they had on their website.
Right.
But what I still struggle to understand
With Atlas.
with Atlas, with Operator, with
Yeah.
ChatGPT agent, you know, I see them all as the same thing because they kind of are the same thing. They maybe have just been like slightly fine-tuned and they're a little bit better. Maybe they're quicker. Maybe they can execute tasks a bit better. But it's really hard to get right because you have like credential managers. You know, you want it to remember you. You know, you've got like two-factor authentication. You want to have cookies enabled so you can just kind of log in already. You don't have to keep logging in every time. Like if you imagine that it's on the browser and it's going through all these different softwares, you'd have to log in every single
Yeah, every
time,
time.
right? You don't want that to
Super
happen. Super
yeah.
annoying. But and I forget the guy's name who wrote a piece on this recently. He used to be a partner at A16Z, then he was an advisor to Entrepreneur First. He's now a writer. I need to find his name. I think Paddy retweeted something that he put out. And I honestly agree with his take that it's like, you look at how hard people are trying to come up for use cases for this thing, that must be some sort of indication to like it's maybe not as promising or valuable as we think. But like, look, I think the technology is great. I think if I can talk to my laptop, tell it to do stuff for me, and it will surf the web and it'll do it.
Well, okay, so this FT article says OpenAI also previewed an agent mode in which AI can take control of the cursor and keyboard and complete tasks on the computer, such as booking tickets or conducting research based on the user instructions. So like the way I see it is, it's a text box, give it your instructions. Oh, I want to fly to Helsinki on these dates. Please book me 2 flights. This is my budget. Or like go and find me some flights or whatever.
Yeah.
And, then you leave it and your laptop is like doing stuff like a voodoo doll, just like doing what you would do.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good use case. I think it's like a trust element, right? So like for me, like I'm quite what's the word? Like, I have high agency. Like I want to take control of a situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm booking a flight, I want to know that I'm confident that I found the cheapest or whatever I want to go and find, I found it, right?
Yeah.
If you're just using ChatGPT to do that, like I wouldn't feel comfortable it just booking me a flight because I'd be like, what if what if it missed something or whatever and it's missed this thing that I really want to get?
100%.
Or, if I want extra legroom, what if it's missed it? Or what if it's missed it and then I can't buy it because all those seats are gone now? And then that's like, I've got to now refund my flight, and do I get ChatGPT to do that? No way, because that's like so boring. And it's the trust element basically that takes so much time to build, but like one misstep and one like bought flight or misbought piece of clothing, you're
and
gone.
this is the
gone
trouble.
today.
This is the problem that we kind of juggled with internally when we were building this thing. Is like, yes, you want it to be hands off. Like you don't really want to be in the loop, right? Ideal situation is as you just described. Like, hey, here's my budget. These are the flights. Go book it. Then you just get an email maybe like 20 minutes later. Like,
And you can't assume like everyone's going to be happy with that.
Yeah, you can't. But also, like, there's an element of like, how much context should I be giving this thing up front? Is it like, hey, buy me this flight on this date at this time to land at this time? I want a window seat. I want extra leg room. Like, this is my in-flight meal or whatever. I don't know. Like, people do that.
Yeah. No, it's fair.
But like, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, hey, I didn't find that flight, but here's the next one. But I've already gone. I've already left. So it's like, what does the agent do, right? Like, how it needs a human in the loop. And to be honest, like, if a human is in the loop, then why the hell do we have the thing? Because the human can just do it.
Yeah.
And
And if like, the websites are built, the UX and UI to like make the user experience as seamless as possible as well.
Yeah,
And
but-
so like
yeah.
kind of just completely strips out all of that, the amount of money that these guys, these companies are putting into that,
Yeah.
and the thought as well, like putting yourself in your customer's shoes and understanding, okay, how do I remove the most amount of friction to buy a flight? I mean,
Yeah.
I know we're using
Yeah.
buying a flight, but that's a
I see it as like there's definitely value here. We're just not.
We're
just
not there
found
yet.
It yet.
We're not there
But,
yet.
but again,
Yeah.
like I'm not going to laugh at the person who like
It's trying.
says, "Hey, should we build cars instead of horses?" I'm not going to tell them no. Let's just add more horses. Like, do you know what I mean? Because that's what I feel. The same argument can be poised for this. I'm pro what they're doing. I think it's great. I just think we're not there yet.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I believe we have Dan in the studio. Dan, can you hear us?
We can
we can hear
hear you.
you, but you have no video. If you go onto your calendar invite, if you join that other video link as well, you'll get video on our stream.
So there's 2 links on the G Meet, I believe.
Joined. We're just waiting for our
Sorry,
producer
I
to
also
give us a thumbs
left
up.
the Google Meet link as well. Like, ignore that. That's
Yeah, don't join Google Meet.
Yeah,
We need
that's
to take
my
that
bad.
out.
That's my bad. Yeah, just a rule of thumb for life. Like, never join
Yeah.
the Google Meet.
We're just waiting.
Have a look at
We can
our
go over
amazing
time. It's fine. We're not-
producers.
Okay, we're in.
Good to
We're
go.
good.
You're live
Dan
on,
is on the
you're live
show.
on
How's it going,
European
Dan?
Television Network.
It's going very well. Thank you for having me, and sorry for messing up some very simple instructions on how to join.
No, that's my fault. I've left multiple links in there, and I've only referenced 2. Now we're in a situation
That's
where
where
there's 3
the
links,
that's where
but
the
2 have been
agent would
mentioned.
be useful.
The agent would definitely mess that up worse. I'm telling you right now.
We were just talking
Studio
about the
sound
agent,
fire.
the Atlas agent that ChatGPT just released. Oh, OpenAI, sorry.
I'm on the other side of the fence. You guys should be doing this with like old school, wired telephones. That would be cool.
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, there's too much tech right now
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah,
It's making me want
exactly.
to throw
You
up
got to
all the
streamline.
tech. We need to,
Exactly.
we need to get leaner. We need to do an AIP roll up of our studio right now.
Not that. Look, Dan, we've got you on for a very specific reason. You wrote a tweet and live on the show, I think it was last week. I was like, Dan Gray would be a great guy to chat to. So I pinged you, I think live on the show, asking you if you would come on, and thankfully you accepted. I want to talk about the X post that you wrote. We probably should have read it out before for the listeners, but do you want to give a high level of what you were trying to get out of the X post, and then we can kind of go from there, really.
Yeah, for sure. And like maybe I'll give you a little bit of background as well,
100%.
like for
I always
the
forget about
context
that.
on it.
Yeah.
So I'm Dan Gray. I'm the head of insights at Equidam. It's a startup valuation platform. And the quick summary of our mission is we help like really interesting novel technologies be more legible to investors. We help them understand the value and the opportunity. As a part of what we do, in addition to like the more commercial side with startups and with investors and with consultants, we also do a lot of work with kind of big startup hubs, NGOs, government organizations, to help them understand like what drives innovation and like what is it about innovation that drives increased productivity. How can they meet their policy goals essentially? So we've done work with all over the world basically, but specifically relevant to this with like the EU Commission, with Horizon, with EIT, so a ton of stuff in Europe. And that kind of ties into this post. And like the timing is interesting. I think it's a year on from the like Mario Draghi's report on EU competitiveness, how Europe can stay ahead and stay relevant. Well, maybe stay ahead is optimistic. How it can stay in the race. And like lots of people have recognized a year on, like not a huge amount has been done. There's some concerns about it. But particularly, like a lot of interesting research has started to come out questioning some of the premises of the report, particularly like how like Europe lags on venture capital and how that should be resolved. So like the Draghi report points specifically to like this much talked about like growth capital gap in Europe. Scale-ups don't have access to enough private capital to grow is the kind of premise. Mm-hmm. But what the research points to, which I think is really interesting and should be better understood, not just in like at the EU level, but also in governments across Europe and elsewhere. The reason why there isn't a lot of growth stage financing is because there's not a lot of growth stage companies that earn it, to be frank, like to be blunt. And if you follow like the chain of causation all the way back, that's essentially because it's the very beginning of the process where the gap is. It's the like inception first check stage of venture capital. There's not enough of that in Europe. So the whole like downstream feed of value creation suffers. So that's the part, like, to me, it seems very clear based on the research. Like there's a few different reports that look at this, but like that's where government should be looking. I definitely plan to publish more on this. I know Andrew Benefit from the British Progress Institute. He's publishing something on this in the near future. But like,
by the way, great guy.
Yeah,
also.
he's definitely someone you should have on the show.
Yeah, we need to get him on 100%. I'm literally WhatsApping him right now.
Well, not listening to Dan.
No, I'm like doing that right now. I'm saying to get him on.
Okay, look, it's interesting because you mentioned just then that not enough growth companies earn growth, or not enough companies are earning this growth capital. But there's also like the argument that these kind of like US like mega funds are kind of swooping in and taking the best like growth deals, and European VCs are kind of, sitting there not doing that. What's the take on that, or is it genuinely just there aren't enough deals, like full stop, and the US players might just have a better kind of leverage to be able to win those deals against those EU players?
Yeah, it's definitely both of those things. There is, if you're a hyperscaler based in Europe and you're raising your Series C, chances are if you can take money from Sequoia or Andreessen, you will do so. Mm-hmm. So that compounds the problem even further, because then the best scale-ups in Europe aren't raising from European VCs, or aren't raising as much, let's say. So there's even less justification for like a big, healthy, late-stage capital environment in Europe. Like it's a huge issue.
So is this pushing European companies out of Europe to the US, or is it just that the liquidity event that happens at the end of it means that there's like a value extraction out of Europe into the US?
Yeah, how does it disadvantage the US regardless of whether they're getting the growth capital from the US or the EU investors, or is that just
But is that more people are going to to US from Europe because they want to get that funding / the liquidity event that happens at the end of the line, whether it's a big exit, whatever it is, the majority of the business is owned by a US growth investor, therefore the majority of the value is extracted out of Europe.
Yeah, definitely. It's both of those things are a problem. Like more companies are moving for capital. Exits aren't happening in Europe as often. Those are both huge issues. But like the fundamental underlying problem is that this is kind of bottlenecking the development of venture capital across Europe. Like late stage funding isn't growing the way it should because the number of opportunities isn't there, because the early stage funding is really hampered. And if you think about it, like if European VCs are like considered more risk averse, if there was a gap in the market, it would be at the early stage where the risks are the greatest, where there's the most uncertainty, not at the late stage. And that does appear to be the case. There's not enough money like driving like inception, creating new opportunities that then feed into late stage growth.
And that's interesting, right? Like you say it yourself there, like at that point in time, surely there are individuals in Europe that could probably, drum up. I know like Matt Miller spun out of Sequoia recently, he's now doing a solo 400 million GP. I'm not sure if that's going to be like growth stage specifically, but surely you can drum up a few people to put together a few quid that maybe want to start the new growth entity specifically targeting Europe. And to do that, it's like, we'll just look at the returns that these growth funds are making, because it becomes very more like mathematical, right? At that stage, it's more like, what are the numbers? What are they telling us? Okay, well, based off historical trends, if things continue, we can expect X multiples at X date. It's less like pre-seed seed where you're like, love this guy's vibe, here's 5 mil.
Yeah.
Like, why are we not seeing more of these? If the playbook has been written and the success is there,
Yes, so true.
why aren't people? Yeah, because the world is a very efficient place, right? Where there is money to be made, someone will find it and they'll take advantage of it, whatever. But yeah, why aren't we seeing more?
Yeah. I mean, it's essentially just the lack of opportunities. You know, if you look at the US as a comparison, like I believe the angel investing ecosystem in the US in terms of like investment per year is in the range of 16 billion, whereas in the EU it's like 1.2.
Damn.
Like it's a huge gap, and that's like obviously angel is like real first check, early believer kind of stuff. And on top of that, if you look at the strategies employed by true early VCs in the US, they are investing much earlier, even with like much smaller tickets. Like they'll do pilot checks for like anything between 20K and 100K just to get a company off the ground and then see if it's worth investing more in later. Whereas the kind of more risk averse attitude in Europe prevents that kind of activity. And it's not necessarily risk aversion on the GP side, it's probably on the LP side.
Yeah.
They are hesitant to back those like risky strategies, basically because like they don't understand the maths and the opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about, like, obviously we talked about the problem and what's going on. Let's talk about the solution and where the best, because at the moment, like, we're talking a lot to our guests about what's changing so we just had David Gelberg. He did the 20-hour co, young guy and is very bullish on Europe over the next, say, like 10 years, if not longer, because of the shift in mindset and hope, I guess, in European tech. Is this gonna is this gonna really fuel something for the next 10 years in Europe? Like, we think we're at the kind of beginning of something that's like seriously impressive to kind of grow Europe and accelerate Europe. Are you of that opinion as well, or do you think there needs to be like wildly larger like reform rather than just kind of like a change in hope and therefore risk appetite?
I think there's some obvious places where regulation ought to be streamlined just to enable innovation. GDPR is a problem. The AI Act is a problem in some ways. But on the kind of funding side and the venture ecosystem and like the industrial policy related to that, like, to touch on a few things that have been found in the research recently, like one paper looking specifically at Europe found that if you take the current government allocation of capital to VC and you double it, you get a certain amount of productivity increase. If you don't double it and you just move that earlier, you get the same productivity increase without any extra capital investment. Like, this is kind of the opportunity. And fortunately, like, the British Business Bank appears to have recognized this. They announced in July like a large new program for emerging managers specifically, which I think is great. But it's like it's a first step. To me, I would really see these institutions, whether it's the Business Bank or the EIF, their role should be enabling like Fund 1 to Fund 3 of emerging managers investing at the earliest stages, and almost like quite possibly nothing else. Companies that are beyond that in their kind of funding stage, if they can't raise money from the market, like, there's probably a reason.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be the role of government to prop them up with financing, and like, again, the research shows it doesn't lead to good returns when they do.
Yeah, I think that's what scares a lot of people, right? Everyone says like, well, why is the government not stepping in and maybe like, we go to all the central banks across Europe and just ask for a little drink and then they put it in a big pot and then we just start attacking this head on. But like, that seems to be like a plaster, it's a temporary solution, right? You're kind of just kicking the can down the road. Like, it's not yes, that's going to fund a couple things maybe and it proves out that the strategy is good, but it's essentially just like, you need it not to naturally happen, but you can't just force things and like form them into the way that you want them to be. You have to strategically think about it. And if I'm right in what I'm hearing, you're saying this starts at the inception stage. We need more money flowing into pre-seed, seed, and I guess even if we can earlier than that, to get these things off the ground. Obviously with that will come more failures, but naturally, you know, 1 in 100 investments might return a fund, and that's why they do what they do. And there'll be some winners in that as well. You know, so is that then, let's set up some mega pre-seed funds? Is this like, let's just have more pre-seed investors? Is this, you know, how do we do that in a way that has longevity?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because like the reason why it hasn't happened up to now is you kind of have to believe if you put in the money, more companies will be produced, that it's a generative thing. Stan Boland was on the 20 VC podcast, I think earlier in the year, talking about exactly this with Harry Stebbings. That's a great conversation. But like all the data seems to show that is the case. Like if you put more money in earlier on, it is generative. It does produce more opportunity. And in a way, I would say like the most important opportunity as well, because it leads to more diversification of what gets funded, which is essentially like pro-innovation. The more you restrict funding, the more it tends to concentrate into like the obvious stuff, like, you know, the theme of the day, whether it's Web3 or AI. If you broaden the base, like you get way more opportunity. Like it's just better for everybody. And this is what, I cannot see any downside for governments pursuing this, like with some urgency, if they really want growth, provided they can think in cycles longer than like a single election cycle, which is obviously a challenge.
Yeah. That's a tough ask, and it sounds like you know, it doesn't even have to be much per. Again, grand sum, obviously a fair amount of money, but like per individual that you're backing. I mean, like, I know a bunch of people that like in terms of like their idea seems like it has weight. They'd probably be amazing founders. Like a little 10, 20K could really help them, like, you know, get some sort of like proof of concept, some sort of proof of work to then go on and actually raise from like an institution. It wouldn't be that much per person. I mean, like for us getting ETN off the ground, we were doing it with, I mean, I don't even know, like not a lot of money at all, right? I mean, this is a very different thing where this is a show. People will be building generational businesses that's far more valuable than that. But yeah, I think that it's underestimated how far even a small amount of money in like relative terms can go for these like younger entrepreneurs.
Especially if you compare it to the scale of capital that is currently going to later stage businesses that isn't working and isn't producing returns. Like you could literally just move that money and it would have a fantastic impact. Like looking at the money that goes through Horizon in the EU into this kind of tech world, 60% goes to mid-tech companies who aren't really like tech startups. And of the rest, like a huge amount of it goes to big corporations who are like repeat recipients of Horizon funding. A lot of it goes to service providers. Like it's just an perhaps unsurprising, but pretty disturbing waste, I would say.
Yeah. Interesting. So yeah,
It's literally just moving money.
Yeah, it's like a misallocation of resources problem then.
So it's not, it's not like the scale, because obviously the scale, you know, if you are comparing the US to the EU, seems like wildly out of it. You know, something came out the other day where it was like the EU is pledging like 11 billion or something to, I can't remember what it was, to I think just general startups or something, and then another article came out on the Wall Street Journal, which was like JP Morgan is pledging 1.5 trillion or something to stuff. So it's like the scale is like thousands of percent in like data delta wise. So you're not saying like it's a scale problem. You're saying it's literally just a misallocation of where money is going, and governments need to essentially just shift their perception of like, you know, this isn't, you're just playing for a 3-year timeline, you're playing for a 15-year timeline or whatever, and longer. And grassroots, that just needs to change in terms of the amount of diversification that goes into to the talent that we have here.
Yeah, and to like put the third point on that triangle, there is surprising data that shows like the EIF, when it invests in fund ones, they actually beat the market rate of successful exits by 7%. So like you would imagine the EIF is probably not very good at picking GPs, surprisingly, it seems like it is. There's also data that shows like Fund 1s and Fund 2s funded by government capital, if they're independent GPs, are better at producing job creation. So like you have data that shows government funding at late stage doesn't work and doesn't produce returns. You have data that shows it really works well when they do it early. And you have data that shows you could just move the allocation and you get the benefit. So
nuts. So
Wild.
why are we not doing this?
well, this is why I'm here. I want to put this message out. You know, we'd love to talk to people. If anyone's curious about this, like, my DMs are open, my email's open. Like, you know, I think it's really important.
Yeah, and I've said multiple times already that I don't understand why you don't have more followers. It's actually wild. Like,
Just do more shit posting, maybe.
yeah,
like
get more like just shit posting out, and then just drop in a few like generational tweets.
Sell your soul for impressions,
Yeah.
and then do the important stuff.
Yeah,
No, all of my posting is like long, hostile walls of text because I only want to be followed by people that agree with me. That's my whole strategy.
That's a good strategy, actually. That must be like that's a good
those like
point.
5,000 followers are, you know, they're worth their weight in gold in terms of, you know,
That's
1,000
nice.
true
Void,
fans.
a
type.
positive void to just speak into. I'd like that as well. That'd be
100%.
nice.
Well, look, like I think we've had, you know, one of the better conversations we've had so far on this show so far. So thank you so much for coming on. Like, genuinely open seat. If you feel like there's something and we think you've come out with a cool tweet or whatever, like, we want to talk about it. This is the whole point we started ETN, right? Is to get people like you talking about what's going on and almost like opening our eyes, right? We're learning as much as the listeners are learning too. So
100%.
yeah, thanks a lot for taking the time.
Thank you, Dan.
And yeah, have a good rest of your day.
I'd love to be back on anytime.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
such a fan of what you guys have done with the show. It's awesome.
Good
Thank you
stuff.
so
We
much,
appreciate
Dan.
it.
You know,
We need to get you a
so
hat as well. Get that.
Yes, get you one of
Yeah,
these.
You
of
do.
course.
I'd love a hat.
Okay, cool. We'll send us where to ship it, and we'll get it over to you.
All right, sounds good. Thanks a lot,
Good
guys.
stuff.
Dan.
Cheers, Dan. Bye.
Bye.
So cool. That was a really good conversation.
Dude,
it's funny though. It's like
mind blown.
here's the problem, here's the solution. It's like, you know, people come on and like not come on the show, but like people generally will. Like, and I am definitely one of this. My old name at Pigment used to be Moaning Ronan, because I just moan all the time with no solution.
Right.
But if you moan and you come with a solution, you can be moaning until the cows come home, my friend.
You saying Dan was moaning?
No, but I'm saying I'm saying he's found a
Sorry,
problem. He's found a problem, but he's also come with, you know, with a solution.
Yeah, I think. Well, look, like
And
it's
that's
opened my
great.
eyes because it genuinely seemed easy.
Table bang as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
So much.
That's
so much. Anyway, but what he was really referring to, and I didn't realise that it's an allocation problem, and an allocation into grassroots, and like to fix the problem, you fix the origin of the pipeline at the first check, and that isn't, you know, hundreds of millions, 20 million, you know, 20 to 100 million dollar checks, which is what
extra
people are doing.
capital, is
It is no extra. It's like
Money's already there.
You can sneeze 20k in a 80 million pound fund. So yeah, one person I really want to get on is Reece Chowdhury. He's just him and his team have just announced maybe 2 weeks ago their launch of the largest European pre-seed fund, $88 million. Super exciting, and I want to maybe get his take on this.
Yeah, that's
so
a
this is
great
a live
idea.
kind of shout out to Reece Chowdhury. We will create a clip, and hopefully he comes on. We do know him, to be fair. We could just get
I
him
can
on.
just WhatsApp him right
But
now.
let's see if X can work its magic.
I think my WhatsApp could probably just work its magic.
Yeah, fair.
fair.
Okay, well, look.
You're like, let's design a quilt and wave it in the air and see if Reece will come on. No, I love the enthusiasm.
Please, Reece, come on. We would love you to.
Yeah, opening live contact ventures team. And before we go, I just want to tell you a little something about Fora. It's the flexible office spaces, private offices, whole floors, or dedicated desks. Fora offers workspace solutions for teams of all sizes at over 60 locations. London, UK, Germany.
Seapoint, get back control of your finances with Seapoint, your startup's financial home. Seapoint is a business account that handles invoice payments, expenses, payroll, and reporting. Go to seapoint.co. Shall I do Jack and Jill as well? Jack and Jill, don't miss the unmissable jobs at the hottest companies. Jack and Jill will listen to what you want and search thousands of new jobs every hour to find job opportunities worth seeing. Go to jackandjill.ai, and is A-N-D in that.
Remember how to spell and, guys.
Please.
Is that the show?
ACI.dev, ACI.dev, the open source middleware to control, govern, and observe AI access to your tools and data. Go to ACI.dev. Brilliant sponsors. Thank you very much for joining.